And we're live. Oh, no, we're not. Haha. Technical difficulty right off the bat. That's what we love about how we found on Tuesday nights tomorrow. Am I back? Yes, I am. Welcome back to the wrestling show. We're keeping it real. Goes right and where apparently I can't do shit. Welcome back to Real Take Wrestle Talk live here on YouTube. I am joined as ever by Trevor the Barman Sutton. Welcome back, Trevor. Good to have you back. Yeah, man. Not like you. Either of us didn't leave, so I don't even know why I said that. We're off to a great start here at Real Take Wrestle Talk. We're gonna be talking about the WWE NXT releases, NXT rebranding into something new, something that many are calling the new version of WWE ECW. Let's pray to God that's not what it is. Also going to be talking about AEW Rampage. The first ever premiere episode of AEW Rampage is going to be live Friday night at 10 p.m. on TNT. And yeah, so we're going to have a lot of fun there. We're going to be treading through all of that. And yeah, also, by the way, sorry, Trevor, your mic was off. Trevor, say something.
Something? Is it
there
on
we
now?
go. Now we can hear him. Now we can hear Trevor in his mightiness. No, we got a great show planned for you guys. Remember, if you are interested in our overtime show, which happens right after this live show is over, where we talk about other things and go more in depth about wrestling products or wrestling content and other wrestling things, be sure to check out patreon.com/Real Take Sports. We're going to be putting up our overtime segment on there, which is right after the show, like I said. And also, I'm going to be posting on there by Thursday a special Sports Revisited, which is like a mini documentary about a specific event in sports history. And then you'll get early access to that. You get early access to other videos that I have planned and I'm currently editing. So a lot of content coming over on patreon.com/Real Take Sports. Join the $5 tier or plus $5 tier or more per month club to get access to all of that. Now that my shilling and my plugging and my shilling is over, Trevor, before we get to what we all know is the biggest news of this week, other than that, how is your wrestling week going? You watching anything interesting?
Rewatching some old wrestling. I rewatched Nitro '97. I think it was March. So
okay. All right.
I also checked out some, which is part of the reason what this week's spotlight is about. I watched some old Danny Havoc wrestling matches and stuff like that. Pretty good stuff.
Not Jimmy Havoc. I was also very confused. Not Jimmy Havoc. Although, I mean, if anyone needs a package delivered,
Jimmy, do it.
Jimmy Havoc will do it. Look, it is what it is. Anyway, guys, let's get right into it. Trevor, this is another sad week in wrestling. I covered it in a live stream, and I wasn't happy. So these releases, we've talked about these releases and how bad they're getting. It's getting to the point where I don't think anyone is. I think people are just getting sick of it. So let's talk about it. This is not fun. This is like the least fun part. I try to find a good thing to talk about WWE. Anyway, Trevor, in an unfortunately familiar move to many wrestling fans, WWE NXT have released 13 NXT and developmental talents from their roster this past week. The releases came down during the WWE Friday Night SmackDown show, which led to many questions about the timing of some of these releases and why they came down when they did. WWE also noted that these were budget cuts, so that's what these wrestlers were told. And among those released are former NXT North American Champion Bronson Reed, Mercedes Martinez, former NXT Tag Team Champion Bobby Fish, former NXT North American Champion Leon Ruff, Tyler Rust, who was part of Roderick Strong's group, Kona Reeves, Stephon Smith, Jake Atlas, Ari Sterling, Desmond Troy, Zachariah Smith, who many people raved about in developmental, Asher Hale, and my favorite, Giant Zanjeer. So, Trevor, we'll get into some of these specific ones in just a minute, but what is your reaction when you heard about these releases? This is now WWE, including talents and people they fired at their corporate headquarters. Since April of 2020, WWE have fired over 100 people. What is your reaction to this news?
You know, like I said, when Bray was released, I wish I could say that this wasn't going to be the last. No, this was going to be the last of it, and it wasn't. It's getting really, really irritating and actually downright despicable. Honestly, use a SAT prep word. It's getting ridiculous. You know, it's to the point where it's even hard to watch their product because like you're like, well, I shouldn't watch this because they might be gone next week. You know what I mean? It's like watching Game of Thrones at this point. You know,
this is nothing like watching Game of Thrones was at least compelling.
Well, yeah, true, but
like I can't make sense of anything this company's doing.
This makes no sense. It makes no sense. Like I can't. First off, you give Bronson Reed the championship, then you take it from him, then you give it to someone else. Like I don't get it. I don't get it. Bronson Reed was very promising. We'll get into all that later, I know, but like it doesn't make sense. None of this makes any sense.
Yeah, I had probably a very similar reaction to you. I remember I was on the train back from DC when the news of this broke, so I didn't get a chance to do a live stream that night and talk about it. But this happened last Monday. This was Friday night during SmackDown. These happened. I just remember looking at this list. I was like, okay, they released people from NXT. I was like, I thought, okay, people like Zachariah Smith, maybe like Ari Sterling, like Jake Atlas, like these people, developmental prospects, maybe they're gone. But when I heard some of the names, right? Okay, fair enough. Here, I'll do this. Fair enough. Bobby Fish, 44 years old, an older person. You know, right. Whatever. He's not gonna be on a free agent for long. Mercedes Martinez, similar thing. Although they misused Mercedes Martinez her entire run in WWE. But the names that stood out to me were Bronson Reed and Leon Ruff. And those two made no sense to me. These are young guys, former champions, people who have potential. Especially Bronson Reed. There was talk about Bronson Reed potentially going up to the main roster. So the fact that these releases came and as soon as they did, and then the news that followed this came right after it did. It's just it's insane to me. It is insane to me that this company has been able to get away with this. That fans haven't turned completely on this company at this point. Because I told you, I said this when the amount of releases we've seen over the past year are disheartening. Not only if you're a wrestling fan, but if you're a wrestler. If you're in NXT, if you're in on the main roster even. You can't be happy about your job security. You can't be happy about the direction this company's going in, where you're just letting a lot of good talent go. You're like, that's what it comes down to. Good talent is leaving the building, and that's not the way to run a good wrestling company. Like, I don't know what the vision is. I don't know what the real reasons are. We're told budget cuts. But if we're being honest, they don't need to trim any fat because they've got plenty of that as far as money goes coming in their way from Saudi Arabia, Peacock, Fox, and all these other deals they have, these sponsorship deals they have. They're not wary for money. So I'm perplexed as to why this is happening. I'm still 100 people are gone later, and I'm still perplexed as to why this is happening. It makes zero sense. It alienates the paying fans who are the ones who care about these people the most, who care about and it shows. You said this. It shows that this company doesn't really care about what they're doing right now. They built up Bronson Reed to be a monster. They built up Bobby Fish to be part of a member of this amazing group, one of the best groups in NXT history in the best group in NXT history in Undisputed Era. Mercedes Martinez, they misused her. So and they invested in so much in these younger talents who were released. It makes no sense to me. I don't get it.
It's frustrating. It's frustrating, and dare I even say, is kind of disrespectful to not only to the talent but to the fans. Like you allow the fans to develop like a following for this person. They like this person, and then you just take them off TV. Like at this point, you like you said, like I've said before, you don't care about your fans, you don't care about your sponsorships, and you definitely don't care about your talent. And point blank, period. That's it in a nutshell. You don't.
Yeah, and you would think that maybe NXT would be immune to some of these cuts. Maybe they're trying to cut some of the bigger contracts because that's what we've been hearing. They signed a lot of people to big long-term contracts, big money contracts. Braun Strowman was one of the names. He signed like $1 million deal. So that the justification was they signed all of these people to big contracts in 2019, 2018, so they wouldn't go sign with AEW. And now what's happening? They're trimming those contracts up. Fine, okay, that's reason enough, I guess. But then you're turning around and you're cutting developmental talent. What are you doing?
Not even part of the main roster or any roster. They're developmental. And it's just like the whole point of developmental. We all know this. Is to build up your roster, strengthen your roster. And okay, whatever. You're getting rid of the bigger contracts. You're trimming the quote unquote fat. Okay, whatever. It sucks, but maybe some truth to it, right? Then you get, like you were saying, you get rid of the younger, undeveloped talent that has a chance to flourish in this business. And before they can even flourish, you cut the legs from under them. It doesn't make any sense.
100 people lost their jobs because of this company in the past year. In the most profitable year in the history. They're making more money than they did in the Attitude Era. Think about that. The most profitable year in the history of this billion-dollar company, and they've fired 100 people since April of last year. Fucking disgusting.
Fucking and it's disgusting. Not all, and let's honestly say, you said it on your other stream, that it's not just wrestlers. It's not just wrestlers. Behind the scenes, guys, people are getting fired as well, but it's still disgusting.
Yeah, and honestly, just an honest question: if there's any WWE fans who still like WWE or want to defend WWE after this, this is not even me being sarcastic. Genuinely tell me. Put it in the comments, put it in the chat, whatever. Tell me what the justification is. Tell me why you think that way, because I'm not mad. I'm genuinely curious as to why there are fans who still watch this product. Think about what they've done to all of these people. What they did to Bray Wyatt. What they did to Miro, to Aleister Black, to all of these people who somehow, some way, they didn't work in WWE, but then they go to AEW. They jump ship to AEW, and suddenly, character, performance, all goes up. All is better. Maybe this company doesn't know what they're doing as far as booking wrestling. Maybe that's it. Maybe they don't know how to cater to their people. Look at what they're doing with Elias. Like, you know what they're doing with Elias? They repackaged him now. Elias is getting repackaged. One of the most over acts. He jobs to what's his name? Jackson Riker. He jobs to Jackson Riker, and then they're repackaging him. He just threw his guitar away, and they're taking away one of the most over things about him. They literally, it's one of those things where if you didn't get over because we wanted you to, or because we said so, you're not going to get over, and we're going to make damn sure of it. That's what these releases have signified, and they don't want to give some of these people a chance. There's no reason Bronson Reed shouldn't be on the main roster right now. There's no reason you can't find a place for Mercedes Martinez, especially when you're trying to build up your women's division, especially when you're trying to do that. There's no reason you can't find room for her. There's no reason why people like Bobby Fish can't be contributors. There's no reason why people like Leon Ruff, who showed some promise, can't be contributors. Like, it makes no sense. It just shows you how asinine this company is, if you want to get another SAT word in here, and foolish they are as far as booking their wrestling.
It makes no sense. Like you touched on Leon Ruff, and I was thinking the same thing. I saw a lot of promise in that guy. A lot of promise. I honestly hated what they were doing with Swerve Scott, kind of sort of, because it was getting monotonous. The feud that they had, because like it seemed like every NXT every Tuesday they were fighting, but I definitely liked the chemistry they both had, and I love Leon. I absolutely love him. I thought he had a lot of promise, a lot of potential. Bobby Fish, again, I can understand more because he's in his 40s, but Martinez, yo, you have two big women, well, two bigger wrestlers, like tall, big, muscular women that you have wrestling on your one is your champion in NXT, and you show in previous that you do like size with your women wrestlers, but you don't even promote them right. You don't even use them right. Martinez is a great worker, phenomenal worker, great athlete, and you don't even use her right. You imagine the feud she could have had with Rhea Ripley on the main roster.
You want to know how inept this company is? There's talk that they're not high on Raquel Gonzalez. By the way, there's talk they're not high on Raquel Gonzalez, and they being like people on the main roster.
I heard that Raquel Gonzalez is money. I don't give a fuck what they say.
Welcome to WWE in 2021. Last question I'll ask you about this: how if you had to pin it down, what does it so okay, these 100 people, and again, these are not just wrestlers, these also include people at the corporate office who are, again, part of WWE and also are disproportionately, I want to say, more affected by these decisions financially than any wrestler, if we're being honest. But 100 people have been let go by this company in the past year. Because I know personally for me, it's changed the way I even view this company, right? Because there's business decisions. The deal with Saudi Arabia, the moving of the network, which is an inconvenience to me, but okay, it's a business decision, whatever. There's decisions that they've made that are inconvenient or I find reprehensible, but at the same time, it's some things, you still, it's not going to stop you from watching WWE. These cuts have, if they've made it hard for me, not only to like WWE, because I don't like WWE, if I'm being honest, they've made it difficult for me to want to support in any way what they're doing or the way they go about these things, because it's sick. It is sick in the most profitable year. I know I say this a lot, but I really want to get this in people's heads. The most profitable year in their history during a pandemic where there's economic instability everywhere, economic strife everywhere, where people are losing jobs, homes, etc. There's a virus spreading. They cut 100 people, Trevor. They fired them right on their ass. Some of them recovered. A lot of them we don't know. And that's the scary part. And they did it under the guise of budget cuts? Like, that's your justification? How am I supposed to support something like that?
I mean, if you have a heart, you can't. You know what I mean? Yes, like you said, the key word here is business, right? And that's what they keep throwing around. It's nothing personal. It's business. It's business. Budget cuts. We got to trim the fat. We got to do this. We got to do that. Like, that's what they keep throwing around to pacify the average fan. So they do, oh yeah, man, it sucks, but they'll be on another promotion. It's budget cuts. Yeah, we're cool. No, that's not what it is. And at this point, for me, like, I know when we first started doing this, the conversation was, yeah, I watch wrestling every once in a while, but not so much, because it kind of seemed like we were both kind of hesitant to even mention that we watch wrestling because of the stigma with the WWE at the moment. Like, I mean, it honestly was in shambles, and it still is. But now, to be honest with you, I don't know the last time I actually watched the WWE Raw. I don't know the last time I actually watched NXT, and I love NXT. I screamed NXT for a very long time. I watch SmackDown here and there, but I don't even really watch that. Like, it's getting to the point where my Peacock subscription is probably going to run out because I'm not going to pay it anymore. and it's just like, I just don't watch it. Like, and it's hard to watch something that is constantly sad.
and changing too. It's just constantly changing for the
If it
worse.
was changing for the best, that'd be a good thing. But it's not.
Yeah, it's definitely not, and then it should worry wrestling fans. By the way, if you're we'll have my friend Kevin on next week, by the way, to break down SummerSlam, and he's a big WWE fan, and I don't know what his opinion is on the optics of these cuts. I'm interested to talk to him kind of about that because he's one of he's a WWE fan. He's not he's not against AEW, but he likes
But he's a
WWE
WWE
more.
fan.
Yeah, which is fine. Again, if you like wrestling, you like wrestling, right? But I'm interested to get his opinion on this because I even know there's wrestling fans who are or WWE fans who are like, oh, this is bad, and then they know it. But there's also the delusional ones who are like, oh, AEW is getting buried by Raw in the ratings, and you're just like, you fucking marks. How about NXT? How's NXT doing in the ratings? Hmm?
Mm-hmm.
You just wait till Rampage beats NXT in the ratings. That's when it's gonna be on a Friday night at 10 p.m. Watch.
That's when it's gonna be serious.
It's gonna be scary. Anyway, you know what else is scary? You guys missing out on the quality content that we provide you here on Real Take Sports. If you haven't already,
You spin that there, sir.
Yeah, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. Let's check out the chat real quick before we move on. CC's here.
Hey, CC.
Yeah, CC's here. Cincy, as always, is here. Someone sponsor Omar. He, man, is great at chilling. Yes, I am.
Yes, you are a great chiller.
He says, rip Raw ratings when the football season starts. Oh, that's something we haven't even talked about. Raw's going to be in the toilet when the football season starts. Yep. Cincy says, Elias is dead, so I expect them to release him in a week or two, keep the rights to his guitar. Probably. And that sounds like a move that could happen. The Drifter. I like the Drifter. Brandon Harrison says, why not move them over to WWE Studios to keep some interest in the wrestlers and jobs for corporate employees? Well, no, the whole thing is I think they want to just they want to gut it. They just want to gut it all. They just want to.
I mean, that would make sense, but I think they just want to get rid of them completely.
Show profits. That's what it's about. It's not about they can't make it work. They have billions of dollars. They can make it work. They're choosing not to. That's what it's a decision. They've made a budget, right? They've made the budget for the entire company, and the budget just shrank significantly, and it keeps shrinking seemingly every single month. So with that, they're just cutting people. Since he says constantly burying Finn Balor, don't get me started.
Yeah.
If he's not gonna be in the match, don't put him in the. That's a story for another day. CC says hi back, and we are gonna move on to something that is kind of related to these cuts, and that is the future of former NXT North American champion Bronson Reed. Bronson Reed was, of course, cut in the latest round of releases by WWE. We discussed how he was the former NXT North American champion. There was talk of him potentially coming up to the main roster. That didn't materialize. Well, Bronson Reed actually, Trevor, he came forward in a video on Twitter, and we're going to play the audio of that in a second. He came forward and he discussed his reaction to his release and what his next steps might be. So let's just quickly take a listen to that video clip.
So I have had some time to reflect now and some time to just process what has happened. And I was very shocked, very upset. As you know, this doesn't just affect me, it affects my wife as well. And we are here in a foreign country, but my wife is a super positive person, and she's kept me positive as well. And I just wanted to reach out to all you guys, and I'm just very thankful, the love and support that I've received online is just incredible. I was trending on Twitter, and that means a lot to me. It means a lot to me that, a lot of you feel for me and will still continue to follow me no matter what. I did want to, thank NXT. I want to thank Hunter and Sean for believing in me. I want to thank all the coaches, Terry Taylor, Scotty Tuhati, Norman Smiley, Steve Carino, those guys that I learned a lot from. And I wanted to thank you know, all the boys backstage as well. It was a great locker room to be a part of. But, you know, I am staying positive, and I do believe I am bar none the best super heavyweight in the world. And I'll continue to prove that. So, as they say, one door closes and another one opens. Well, for me, many doors are open. And now it's just about which one I want to walk through. So, thank you very much for all the support and love, and please keep supporting.
Your mic, buddy. Your mic.
There we go. There we heard Bronson Reed discuss his release, discuss his reaction, and talk about how, you know, one door closes, some other ones may open, and that's got me thinking about what doors might be open for him. But Trevor, Bronson Reed was someone who was supposed to come up to the main roster. There was a lot of discussion about that. There was discussion that he might be someone slated for a little bit of a push. Didn't happen. Former North American champion is now gone from the company. What do you make of the handling of Bronson Reed, and what might be next for the former North American champion?
First and foremost, let's just address the elephant in the room. The man's talented. It's super talented. Amazing worker. If you've seen any of his work before NXT, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Even in NXT, he's a legit. He's got to be legit 3 something, almost 4, and he moves like a guy that's like 210, if not smaller. The guy's amazing. To not know what to do with him is just ridiculous. I mean, to not push him up to the main roster might be a blessing in disguise, honestly, because most of the people that have been pushed from NXT haven't done anything. You mentioned Finn Balor earlier. I mean, like, he's another one. Keith Lee, he's been on the main roster forever, and I mean, honestly, he had health issues, but been on the main roster, and he disappeared in the thin air. Like, they don't really use him, so I mean, which is probably why they let go of him. I mean, it could be a blessing in disguise. It's wrong how they treated him. It's wrong what they did to him. But it could be a blessing in disguise because I'm seeing a bunch of doors. And I know normally we scream AEW, but this time I'm not going to mention AEW. I'm going to say, since he is across the pond, since he's not, this is a foreign country to him, like Insane Championship Wrestling could be a good one. Could be a damn good one. If he could do New Japan, like that's a great place for him. Hell, there's another little promotion starting a television show soon called by the name of MLW that might need some superstars. So there's so many places a guy that talented could go.
Yeah, I think since he mentioned this in the chat, Ring of Honor to me is I don't know why actually. He says IDKY too, but I'm not sure why. But I do think that Bronson Reed would be great in Ring of Honor. I think Ring of Honor. Yeah, I think Ring of Honor, he kind of gives off that vibe. I don't know what it is about him. He maybe it's like the NXT kind of comparison, but he could work in Ring of Honor. He would definitely work in New Japan. 100% work. Like we've talked about it. He could be their next big giant, and I think he would have a little bit more appeal too because of him being Australian too, from that kind of side of the hemisphere. You know, even though they're different regions still. I think Bronson Reed though, he's 32 years old. He's young. Yeah. The sky is the limit for this guy. The athleticism.
He still moves well. He's still, you know.
The power he should have been big. He should have been big on the main roster. He was definitely big on NXT, and I mean big as far as talent-wise. I'm not sure what the disconnect is, other than I think, for being honest, and I'm going to be very blunt here, I think Vince probably, or people on the main roster who were scouting, probably just see Bronson Reed as just some fat dude. and that's not my opinion at all. But I think that's kind of what they see him as. But they disregard the talent, they disregard everything about him. But they've done that in the past. Literally, Bruce Pritchard said the reason that Samoa Joe wasn't in TNA or wasn't in WWE long before he was because Vince saw him as a fat Samoan. The reason why Kevin Owens, he didn't get really a push initially, or he got a push, but then his push kind of got stifled, is because at the end of the day, Vince kind of always sees him as just a bigger dude who's not, he's like, he can't be in the main event. He can't.
But look, all the guys you just mentioned, look at how they move. Look at how they work. They don't act like somebody. They don't wrestle like someone too big. Like, honestly, if I'm running a race, I'm picking Kevin Owens with me. Like, Kevin Owens is one of the most agile, bigger guys I've ever seen.
Dude, like, look at Keith Lee. Look at the way they've handled Keith Lee. Keith Lee is that dude does stuff that I've never seen someone with. Look, no disrespect to Kevin Owens and all those guys. Yeah. Keith Lee is that dude is like an aerial like master. Like, with some of the stuff you've seen him, I've seen him do moonsaults. I've seen him do stuff off the top rope, suicide dives.
Limitless. He has no limit. He really does it. I've seen him do things in indie promotions that no small man could do.
Yeah, and it's like, I think Kevin actually in the chat just said something very, very true. Bronson Reed reminds me a little bit. Actually, Bronson does a little bit. He reminds me of Bam Bam Bigelow. He reminds me a little bit of him.
I've been saying that for a while.
Keith Lee really reminds me of Bam Bam Bigelow. Like, and it's not even
more refined Bam Bam Bigelow.
More refined, because Bam Bam, look, people forget Bam Bam Bigelow he was insane, the things he was doing in ECW. If you haven't seen what Bam Bam Bigelow was doing, don't look at his WWE stuff. He's still good in WWE. Look at what he did in ECW. Someone of his size should not be able to move like that, but he defies that. It's amazing, and he's one of the best workers of all time. One of the most underrated workers, by the way. Bam Bam Bigelow for the Hall of Fame, 20 every year. But
Bam Bam was one of my favorites, and now that you say that, I'm looking at Bronson Reed. He does remind me of Bam Bam, because Bam Bam to me had indie feel. He had an indie promotion feel. He had an indie wrestler feel about him. And honestly, so does Bronson Reed. That's not a bad thing, by the way. If anyone that hears me say that's not a bad thing. But I feel like just indie workers can't work in environments that are like WWE or things like that, because of the fact that they have a different air about them. They have a different skill set, a different mentality. Like, I mean, it's just true. AEW for a guy like Bronson Reed would work well, but ROH, I think you hit it on the head, would work amazingly well for a guy like Bronson Reed.
Yeah, ROH, like, honestly, Bronson Reed's one of those guys, he's gonna do great stuff wherever he goes. Like I know it becomes a cliche, but I'm telling you, sometimes you can just tell from the talent. And this is a guy who is obviously very passionate about what he does. We just heard his words and heard what he had to say. He's passionate about wrestling. He's passionate about being good. And he understands that this isn't the end. This isn't the end of his wrestling journey. And it is not. He'll pop up somewhere. And wherever he is, I'm sure our paths will cross. And we'll be talking about Bronson Reed or whatever his name is going to be at a later date. So, Absolutely. Guys, remember, if you haven't already, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. God, I hate using the word released now. It's just such a bad connotation at this point. But anyway, speaking of wasting talent. Over the past number of weeks, so here we go. This is okay. So this wasn't really a story. This is just something that I've noticed that kind of caught my eye. So over the past few weeks, John Cena has been backstage at both Raw and SmackDown. Cena has been appearing in dark matches for the company after the shows. However, even though he's mentioned on TV during the live broadcast, he has not been on TV since signing that contract to be involved in that SummerSlam match with Roman Reigns. Some, including myself, have been very perplexed of the idea of having John Cena backstage at TV and having him marketed to be in the building while he has two huge movies in Suicide Squad and Fast and Furious out right now, but not using him on TV. Is it just me, Trevor, or is it dumb for them not to use John Cena on TV?
I feel like we and I think I mentioned this before we got on the air. I feel like we talked about this. Like I've noticed, like on his on Instagram and things like that, they've shown him in the ring. But if you know anything about wrestling, you know that it's a dark match. You know what it looks like, and it's been all dark matches. And like at first I was like, oh, okay, maybe he hasn't been in the ring for a while. Like maybe they're getting the ring rust off. You know, he needs to make sure those eight moves he does work great. But it's getting one of those things that's kind of like, he is a huge talent, future Hall of Famer. He's bringing ratings to you. Why not put him on TV? It makes no sense.
Well, he don't know. He would bring ratings to you. He would bring ratings to you if he was actually on TV, but he's not.
He's not. He's not on TV. They don't show him at all. Like, and it's just, it doesn't make any sense. And it's another thing that WWE is doing that makes absolutely no fucking sense.
Your TV ratings are slipping. Like, Raw is getting below 2 million every week. Your TV, you sign all these $1 billion TV deals, these contracts. You gotta, at some point, you gotta make sure your ratings are good, especially going into football season. You would think, take advantage of it while you can. You have John Cena there in the building. He's not gonna be there all the time. I'm so perplexed. Like, there are certain things. If they don't see, okay, here's the thing. If you don't see the vision in having smaller guys work in wrestling, that's a different thing, right? This is John freaking Cena. He's backstage. Imagine having The Rock backstage at Raw or backstage at SmackDown and not using him on TV. Anyone would say you're out of your mind and you don't know how to book wrestling. You don't know how to book a wrestling show if that's the case, right? Am I right?
Oh, you're absolutely right. But I mean, they're proving they don't know how to book a wrestling show at this point.
It's just like he's backstage already. You don't have to have him come out. He can do the dark match. I'm not saying don't have him do the dark match. Have people stick around for the rest of the show. I get the appeal. You want to have John Cena wrestle after the show's over so people stick around for the entire show and don't leave because your show's boring as shit. But you can do that. But you're telling me you can't have John Cena cut a promo. Just have him cut a promo. Just have him cut a 5-minute promo. And people want to say, well, he's, John Cena is a SmackDown exclusive talent. Wrong, my friends. John Cena, ever since the brand split happened, has always been a free agent. That's always been the case. John Cena is bigger than any brand. Also, they break the brand split stipulation every time because, Trevor, who was on Raw this past Monday night? Baron Corbin begging for money, begging for $100,000.
And I actually hate that fucking gimmick, by the way. But
oh yeah, his gimmick is that he's poor, and it's funny because he's poor.
Exactly, make fun of the poor people.
Make fun of poor people. Yeah. Baron Corbin's the heel. Look. It's just
I hated it when they did it with Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, and look, here's the thing. There's a way to do that where it's like not bad. Like, you don't make fun of him for being poor. You make fun of him for being what DDP was in WCW, which is a jackass who blew away his lottery winnings in like a week, right? You know, who spent it away or whatever, and then that
wasn't a bad gimmick. That was funny.
That was funny because it wasn't specifically making fun of him for being poor. It was making fun of him for being dumb. With it, right? But then he had a benefactor. This is not that gimmick. The WCW in 1995 was like 15 times smarter about it than the WWE is now. But it's not a good gimmick. And look, we're
sorry.
We're getting off topic here, but Cena's backstage. You don't use him. That tells me that you don't know what you're doing because your ratings are slipping. I feel like it's. Am I wrong here? Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. This is, at this point, classic WWE. They have the talent in the back. They don't bring them on screen. You don't see them. You don't care anymore. You don't want to watch it. So I mean, that's pretty much where I'm at now. And like I said earlier, I don't watch Raw at all. But like, I would probably check it out more if Cena was on the screen. cutting a promo or doing something.
John Cena bypasses all the rules. There's no brand split with John Cena. There's no territories with John Cena. There's nothing. You have John Cena backstage. You put him on TV. You know what's the other thing? People want to defend this as, oh, well, he's a SmackDown exclusive superstar. First of all, he's not. Secondly, he was on Raw like 2 weeks ago.
He was.
He cut a promo.
And now that he has the contract for the SummerSlam match, you don't see him doing shit.
I don't get it. I don't get it. It's like, I'm not a genius. I'm not even being a genius about this. This is one of my fantasy booking things. This is just straight up how to attract people to your product. People will watch if John Cena is there. Just like how on AEW, people watch when Chris Jericho is there. People watch when The Rock is there. People watch when Stone Cold is there. When Vince McMahon is there. I don't get it. I just don't understand. And maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the one who's out of touch, Trevor. But I highly doubt that's the case.
No, I totally agree with you. I honestly agree with you. Like I said, we've talked about this recently, and it's the same. It's just stupid. It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. Let's check out the chat real quick because this is starting to make some sense. Or sorry, this doesn't make any sense. Vince probably thinks the XFL can beat the NFL. He did think that at one point. He definitely did. In 2001, man. Hey, Cincy, after this, go watch the 2001 XFL opening game. That opening game was funny as hell. CC says, I'd give WWE at least 5 more years before they call it quits on it all. I could see them in like 5 years not doing wrestling, or not 5 years, maybe like 10, 15 years not doing wrestling anymore. I could see that being a thing.
I could definitely see that.
Like legitimate
and purely entertainment.
Yeah, I legitimately believe that. A variety. Raw is basically a variety show at this point. They don't focus too much. They said it themselves, dude. They're moving away from wrestling. So it's possible. Or Vince sells to Disney. Again, also possible. We've kind of well, that's like one of those things. If it gets reported again, I'll talk about it. But I feel like that's kind of like an obvious like thing that might be happening. So we'll see. We will see. Here we go. Cincy also says, I watch AEW for Orange Cassidy and occasionally Chris Jericho. Watch it for some more people. There's some more really good people.
I understand with my man Fresh to Squeeze, but watch it for some more people, definitely.
Yeah, or watch whatever you want, Cincy. You'll love wrestling. I will never tell you what to like and what not to like, but just give it a chance. That's all I'm going to say. Brandon Harrison says, if they sell to Disney, I don't see fans sticking around, unlike other franchises. Buddy, I don't see fans sticking around right now. Like,
nah,
buddy, if they sell, I don't see fans. I'd probably be more inclined to watch WWE if they sold to Disney, because I feel like Disney would at least be like, who's going to buy this product?
Exactly.
Wrestling fans. You know who we shouldn't embarrass and should cater to a little bit? Wrestling fans. Like,
I mean, look what they're doing with the Marvel franchise and all the Star Wars franchise. They're catering to.
Oh, they do. They're kings of marketing. They know exactly how to. They know how to put out a good product and get people to watch it. Like, hell yeah! Actually, Vince, sell to Disney. Do it, please. Please. Because you know what that'll do too. It'll force AEW to have to get bigger and better, which is amazing. And Vince, sell the.
And that's good for wrestling.
I'm gonna start a change.org petition to get Vince to sell WWE. To call on the White House is gonna be forced to comment on this. I'm telling you.
You're gonna get a phone call. Hey, now, pal.
Goddamn pal. Heard you want me to sell. I'm not doing it. No, Vince, please, do it.
Do it, please.
Dude. Please. Anyway, please, guys, if you're watching this, subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. I can't say it any faster than that. I probably can at this point, though. But yeah, no, daily videos. You get to hang out with me and Trevor every week. And Real Take Sports Talk, too. So that's a fun thing to do. We're going to have some collabs coming up soon, also, with some other channels. It's going to be fun. Yeah. My mind just went blank. What's next?
Big change. You seem like you just lost.
It's been a long week, but we are still here. But you know what's not here, or at least might not be for a while? NXT. Trevor, let's talk about it. The recent rounds of NXT cuts were made allegedly by Vince McMahon, Bruce Pritchard, and John Laurinaitis, and allegedly more changes are coming for the brand, according to multiple sources, including Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer newsletter. Meltzer said that Paul Levesque and Shawn Michaels had apparently nothing to do with Friday night's cuts that saw 13 talents get released. Meltzer said the mentality is that NXT is going to change in some ways, likely going back to the earlier days of being a developmental territory and getting talent who are younger and bigger and who, quote, can one day main event WrestleMania, whatever that means, apparently. The feeling is that they lost the war with AEW and are getting back to being younger and bigger, which is what Vince McMahon's vision originally was. And apparently here, this is not my words. These are the words of Meltzer quoting someone from WWE. The edict was, quote, no more midgets, no one starting in their 30s, and people who can be box office attractions and main characters. SRS also said some other stuff about this that we'll get into in a second. But Trevor, I want to talk to you about this. We see these cuts. We hear about this rebranding into what we are going to assume is a developmental territory. Why is WWE going into this direction, and what do you think of it? What does it mean for the brand?
Now, I mean, like you said before, that's what it started off with, right? It was Florida Championship Wrestling, and then it turned to NXT. It was a developmental, situation where you come in, you see how you work out during the crowds, see how you play to the crowds, and your promo skills and all that, and you build up and eventually go to the main roster. But they found out that they caught lightning in a bottle, and they decided to turn it into what it is now, which is not a bad thing. But constantly wanting to rebrand and change, I mean, it could be a good thing. It could be. But fans who are fans of it now, I don't think are going to stick around for it. I think fans who like what it is now aren't going to go for this, the rebrand, because it could potentially ruin it, honestly, and probably cause them to lose a lot of fans too.
Yeah, and it's this weird thing of, so there's so many things to talk about when we're talking about this report by Meltzer, because there's the whole, like, they want bigger guys, they want bigger people, box office attractions, they want people who can main event WrestleMania, and then there's like this other edict, which is like, that they want to be developmental again, even though the whole point of putting NXT on the USA Network was for them to be an alternative brand in WWE. And so let's do this, Trevor. Let's start with specifically the edict, because this is a very large issue. Let's start with the edict that came down. No more midgets, no one starting in their 30s, people who can be box office attractions. What does that say? On one hand, what does that say about the talent that is already there in NXT? And what do you think that says about maybe what Vince wants to see out of NXT moving forward?
So one, if I'm already a wrestler in NXT, I'm biting my nails, because there are talents there that are clearly in their 30s, that aren't young talents. There are talents there, like poor Leon Ruff, that was considered maybe a midget. Like, I mean, and Johnny Gargano is not that tall. Like, you got a lot of quote unquote midgets, but I mean, it all goes back to the old to how Vince was back in the day. He always liked bigger guys, which is what attracted him to Ultimate Warrior. Ultimate Warrior had no wrestling skills at all, but it was just the fact that he was high strung and he was just a big guy that attracted to him. And I mean, if you look in the past, that's what Vince always liked: younger, bigger dudes. And he was, and if you look at all the pushes of some of the guys that we have now or had back in that were smaller, they never really got one. Crash Holly was probably one of the ones that got one of the biggest pushes, and he died of steroids. So I mean, like, it's just one of those things. Like, and honestly, if he's looking at new talent on the indie circuit, there's a lot of indie talent that just started, and a lot of them are like 27, and up. You know what I mean? A lot of their age is getting up there, and so I mean, honestly, if he's really looking for younger, bigger guys, I'm not sure how that's going to work out too well, honestly, because like I said, a lot of the seasoned indie talent that you would pick up is clearly not as young as he's looking for.
See, for me, it's like when he says that, oh, we're looking for people who can main event WrestleMania, pal. What does that say to people like Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano, who literally, we're talking about, think about the past 20 years. Anything after Rock and Austin in 2001. Let's think about the past 20 years. Has there been a better feud in WWE than Tommaso Ciampa versus Johnny Gargano? It's one of the best feuds in wrestling history. One of the best played out feuds in the history of pro wrestling.
Two of some of the best wrestlers in pro wrestling.
So that is immediately an indictment on people like Ciampa and Gargano. That's an indictment on the people who've come up from NXT to the main roster, who they've tried to develop. That's assuming none of these guys really can work out. None of these girls, none of these women can really main event WrestleMania. Even though you helped produce Becky Lynch, you helped produce Charlotte Flair, you helped produce people who did main event WrestleMania. But no. They don't matter. And what matter, we need to get back to developmental, that idea, the idea that NXT as it currently is constructed is not developing stars, is one that is based out of this fundamental detachment of reality that exists in WWE and the decision makers in WWE. The people who are somehow disillusioned so much. They are so far up their own ass, Trevor, that they believe that NXT is somehow not producing enough talent, when NXT for the longest time was your best weekly show. Even when it was an hour long on the network, it was one of your best shows, if not your best show.
That's when I started watching it.
Exactly. So for me, it's this weird thing of this. If you're a WWE fan, if anything should trouble you, it's this. It's this. The fact that they believe that NXT has failed. And it's based in this idea that they lost the Wednesday night war to AEW. Well, first of all, if you didn't want to be in a war, and if you didn't want to lose the war, don't put yourself in the war, and don't put your product on USA Network going head-to-head with AEW after AEW had already announced. That's on you. That's on you. You're splitting your own audience by doing that, and you're putting yourself at risk, knowing that there's a hotter product out there, a newer product out there, with people who people are excited from the indies that are coming up. So don't tell me that, oh man, NXT and Paul Levesque lost the Wednesday Night War and that's the reason we're doing this. Don't that's not an excuse. That's not a valid excuse, because WWE and Vince McMahon put them in the position to lose. If you want to be smart about it, put it on USA on a Tuesday night like you did. Build your audience on one night. Don't split the audience. That's a battle where you're probably going to lose anyway. And look, if we're talking about losing, it's not like they were tanking in the ratings. They got beat by AEW pretty good. AEW was like averaging about 900,000 viewers. NXT around 600,000 to 700,000. They were still doing fine. It wasn't great, but it was fine.
Yeah,
but
it wasn't bad,
But to say that, oh, they lost and they're not developing talent, it's just, it is scary. It's scary as a wrestling fan to think that people in wrestling companies are thinking that people who are running wrestling companies are thinking that. It's honestly, it's worrisome.
It is. It's very worrisome. But, you were sitting there talking about it, and I was thinking about it. The wrestlers that we actually mentioned, they didn't really need developmental too much, especially since most of them were already pretty big stars in their own right. Like Finn Balor came from what was it, Ireland? He was a big star.
New Japan, Prince Devitt.
He was big in his own hometown, also big in New Japan. Like, he'd been wrestling what 10, 12 years before he came to NXT, and he was part of the Balor Club. Like, a lot of these guys, like, I get why they call it developmental, but a lot of these guys are truly already developed. You just got to learn how to work in this system, pretty much. But most of these guys were big stars coming over.
The other thing that we should probably talk about is that WWE wants NXT to rebrand and become more of a developmental system. They want to get bigger, younger, all that kind of stuff. And I assume try out people who need the experience on TV and stuff. And in my opinion, that's not going to lead down a road to success, because even Sean Ross Sapp said it. Right now, the path that NXT is going on, and according to all these reports and the rebrand, NXT is probably going to resemble something along the lines of WWE ECW. And I'm not talking about ECW. I'm talking about WWE ECW in like 2009, 2010, when it was all developmental, a third brand. And then the ratings are going to really, really tank, because NXT is the only show on WWE where you get any sort of consistency in storyline. NXT is the only show in WWE where you get any sort of build-up for months and months to matches, 5-star matches. It's the only place where you go for good wrestling in WWE, really. And if they're doing that to NXT in NXT over here, like that's worrisome, because then the ratings are going to flop and then the brand is going to die, because you don't want that to happen. If NXT still to this day is a hot brand, whether people like it or not, it's a brand that has value. But if you do this to NXT, it's going to lose value and it's not going to be good.
Nope. It's already lacking in a lot of story development and stuff. And you're like, what the fuck? What's going on? Like, it used to be very entertaining, and you're starting to see where it's lacking a little bit,
And the other thing about it that worries me too is that NXT. Here's the thing, and we're probably spending a lot of time on this, but I think it's worth it. So NXT, when it first started out, right, it was supposed to be a developmental territory, right? It's supposed to take over FCW, be a little bigger than FCW, but give people a chance to learn how to work in front of TV, in front of fans and whatnot. And they succeeded at that. And I think at one point, when it got to the network and it got more exposure, it actually outgrew what it was, because then you had great matches with these great characters, because Paul Levesque, Triple H, actually knew how to book wrestling. And then NXT became not only a third brand and developmental, it became a little bit of a competition for Ring of Honor. And that's what it was supposed to be. Like, it went from being developmental to competition for the indies, and specifically Ring of Honor. That's why they were poaching a lot of New Japan people. That's why they were poaching a lot of Ring of Honor people back in the day. And then AEW comes in. So they go away from Ring of Honor and they go competing with another specific brand head-to-head. And when they lose that battle, they now automatically are like, we need to strip everything down and bring it back to developmental. I don't get it. I just don't get it. Why are they? Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense at all. And I'm not trying to. I hope I didn't cut you off at all. But
you're good.
It's one of those things where they got one of the biggest indie signs possible in Adam Cole, and had this amazing dynasty with Adam Cole, and then you break them up. You send Bobby Fish away. Adam Cole probably is going to resign somewhere else, and now you rebrand. That makes sense. That makes sense.
It does not make any sense. No, but I understand what you mean. I mean, it's a mess. The other thing having to do with NXT, last thing that has to do with NXT. So NXT rebranding, NXT, there's this whole hullabaloo going on about NXT. And the reports indicate that apparently USA Network and NBC specifically are upset with WWE, not only for the releases of multiple NXT talent, but the reports that NXT is thinking about rebranding into being a more developmental territory, which obviously would hurt their ratings, because then they'd probably resemble something like WWE ECW. So, Trevor, if you're like a USA executive, if you're an NBC executive, how do you react to this news and these reports?
Well, again, honestly, you would feel. I think most of their up why they're so up in the air about it or upset about it would be because you might lose money for it. I mean, you might lose money because the product that you were backing was good. Now it's turned into something that's questionable. And I mean, again, we've been beating a dead horse for the past like 25 minutes, but it's just one of those things where it's like I understand why they'd be upset because, like, I mean, you're potentially taking money out of my pocket.
Absolutely. Well, all I can say is I genuinely hope NXT doesn't rebrand into whatever they're speculating it will, because it's not good for the performers, it's not good for the brand, it's not good for WWE, and it's not good for the fans. Like, nobody wins by doing that. Like, you have the performance center, man. You have the best facilities. You don't need to ruin a good thing. I don't get why WWE always feels the need to ruin a good thing. That
doing it for years
makes no sense to me. Anyway, you know what else doesn't make sense to me? The people who are watching this who don't subscribe, Trevor. Did you know that 80% of the people who watch videos on this channel aren't subscribed?
It's a goddamn shame.
What the hell are they doing? What the hell are you doing? You like the content. You watch the content. Just subscribe. It's so easy. It's like, oh, look, click. You're subscribed. That didn't even take that long. And then you get wonderful clipped videos. You get wonderful documentaries. If you go to patreon.com/Real Take Sports, you get early access to special documentaries. And you get access to the exclusive Real Take Overtime show with me and this beautiful bald man over here. So why wouldn't you? So join us there. Join us. The Cultaholic's totally going to sue me for that one. Yeah, I can't say join us. But follow me. Follow
something.
The Omar. Anyway, let's move on and actually let's get to some of these. There's only a few chat questions here. I watched the matches. Oh, here we go. And I watched Ring of Honor for Dan Housen since he had it. Yes, we all do. You're all Fanhausens. Since he also says I watch other matches, my favorite are just those two. Brandon, he says Brandon Harrison, Vince doesn't care. He just wants money. I don't even think he wants money. I don't know what Vince wants.
Vince knows what he wants.
And then since he finally tops it off by saying NXT is the only show they don't bury Balor on.
No,
it's true. This is true.
Absolutely right.
SummerSlam 2017, man. That was like, I thought it was when Finn won that Universal. The first ever Universal Champion will always be Prince Devitt, Finn Balor. We can always hang our hats on that.
I don't care what anyone says. First.
All right, absolutely. Anyway, going from a Universal Champion to one of the first ever NXT UK champions in Pete Dunne. Earlier this week, it was reported that Pete Dunne's NXT contract was due to expire in the coming weeks, with him yet to sign an extension. Per Dave Meltzer in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dunne's deal is formally set to expire on September 1st. That is about a week and a half after SummerSlam. Adam Cole, we also know about his contract situation. He signed that extension to stay after SummerSlam, but there's no indication that he's going to resign. There's no indication that Pete Dunne is going to resign. Dunne signed with WWE in 2017 as part of NXT UK, but it doesn't look like he's going to stick around. So, Trevor, I'm going to ask you this. What would losing Pete Dunne mean for WWE?
You talk about technical wrestlers a lot, and that man right there, complete technical beast. The exposure he has given a lot of that bare knuckle, rough style of wrestling that he's done has been amazing. Like having Pete Dunne on the WWE NXT the American version, has done a lot. Given a lot of exposure for that particular style of wrestling. I'm pretty sure most people who watch wrestling have never seen that. I mean, William Regal did a version of it, actually one of the first that I've saw, and Fit Finlay. But yeah, he's given exposure to a different type of wrestling, and I think once he leaves, it's going to be a big thing. I mean, who else from UK do we have on NXT right now? The tag team, but one of them is hurt right now, right?
Yeah, no, they're hurt. I don't even know what's going on with Tyler Bate. Like Tyler Bate was
I don't know
another
what Tyler
guy
Bate
who was really good. Like
Walter, you
they
don't see a lot of him because he's
well
on
Walter, thank God, he's as far away from Vince as can be. Thank God.
NXT.
But yeah,
But yeah, I mean, I think it would be a shame if they lose him, honestly, and I honestly think it will hurt them
oh
completely.
yeah. Is there like again, it's one of those things. If you don't see the talent in a guy like Pete Dunne, or if you don't see the talent enough to keep him happy, I don't know what you're doing booking wrestling. Pete Dunne, the bruiserweight gimmick is money. First of all, amazing pun. Secondly, amazing work done because he goes out there and he does exactly what he says he's gonna do. He had a match with Walter at Takeover New York in 2019, I believe, before Mania 35. One of the best wrestling matches I have ever seen in my life. That is the night that I discovered Walter, in my eyes, that I first saw Walter. That is the night that I became a huge fan of both of those guys. I already liked Pete Dunne, but seeing that match was amazing. He literally had one of the best matches I've ever seen in my life. And he had it in WWE, which is an accomplishment, honestly. So the fact that he would want to leave, it again shows you that what's happened. Okay, what does it say about a company that great wrestler after great wrestler after great wrestler after great wrestler wants to leave? It tells me the company isn't utilizing them to the best of their ability, or they're not utilizing them at all. And if we're being honest, Pete Dunne is someone who has been underutilized even on NXT. He's been involved in some feuds, but he's filled that he's just filled a filler role for the past 2 years almost, it seems. Like ever since he lost the NXT UK champion. He had a great time. I love the stuff he did with Riddle. That was entertaining. That was fun. But now after that he just didn't find his footing, and I think maybe it's a fact that Pete Dunne has kind of outgrown NXT and what they're doing there, and they just don't have a position for him on the main roster, and he would only stay if they offered him, I think, something on the main roster. If they don't do that, then I think he's out the door because you don't want to. He could make more money. Like it's just the thing. He could probably make more money on the indies back. Maybe even back in England, he could make more money in Japan.
That's what
definitely.
I was thinking.
He can make more money anywhere than he could NXT at this point. Like the only way I see him staying is if he gets a main roster contract, which I don't even think WWE at this point would be inclined to do.
Yeah, I don't know where their heads are with the whole offering NXT performers main roster contracts. Because they toyed with Karrion Kross, right? Coming to the main roster. Now you saw him do one match with Jeff Hardy. He lost and then went back to NXT. Pete Dunne also had good matches with I want to say earlier this year with Finn Balor for the belt.
Yeah, no. They had great matches. They had great matches, but
every time I've seen him in, he's done well. He's been doing good match. I mean, he can work, but I don't know. I don't think he should stay, and I don't think he will stay.
But he's one of those guys who did he's wrestled almost everybody big on NXT already. So it was one of those things. He either needs to go to the main roster or he's done with the company. Honestly,
that's the way. Cross yet?
I think they had a multiple man match.
Yeah.
But he
had to wrestle them one-on-one.
No, but again, it's just one of those things. I mean, he would have more people to wrestle on SmackDown, or he would have more people. Well, he wouldn't have more people wrestle on Raw because there's nobody on Raw. But you know what I'm saying? It's about getting fresher matchups, getting to do something else, and I think that's what it's about with Pete Dunne. The other question about him is, where could he go? I could, again, I've said it. I could see him going back to England, but I also think the American scene is so good right now that he could go to. He's another guy I could see him go to Ring of Honor and be the champion. Like he could go there day one, become the ROH champion. Like Bandito, I'm sorry, but be done. The bruiserweight, he fuck your ass up. He's merciless with those. The way he cracks back your knuckle.
Dude, oh my god! I love that stuff. Oh, I love it. It's so awesome.
It's such good shit.
But ROH wouldn't be a bad spot for a lot of these guys because ROH is stepping up their program too.
Yeah, ROH is stepping it up. And I think, again, as the indie scene opens up more and more, you're going to see more companies pop up. But yeah, Tyler Bate, man, he'll be, or not, well, Tyler Bate too, but Pete Dunne will be a catch for any company out there that gets him. Just like my channel is a catch for anyone who comes by it. So be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. Also, if you want to check out the Real Take Overtime show right after this airs, go to patreon.com/Real Take Sports for that. Join the $5 or above tier and become a member. Follow the Omer. Anyway, let's keep it going. Trevor, this next thing is something that you and I we talked about, right? But now there's been some more information that has come to light. There's been some more, I guess, there are more comments that have come to light. So, I just want to, before we get into this story, I want to just say that we talked about how we don't like to comment on people's mental health unless they talk about it. Especially if it's rumor and innuendo, I don't like to do that. And this is precisely why. And I will once again apologize for having done that with the Bray Wyatt situation. I shouldn't have done it. You live and you learn. But there's a reason you don't do that kind of stuff, and this is why. Because Fightful Select reached out to sources that are connected with Bray Wyatt and confirmed that his absence following WrestleMania had nothing to do with what people were calling, quote, the falsely reported mental health struggles that he was going through. Bray Wyatt is 100% healthy. He will be able to wrestle, and he does want to wrestle. And during Bray Wyatt's absence from TV, Fightful learned that he was working on adding creative elements to his character, which was slated to return, actually, this past week on Monday Night Raw in Orlando. So he got that. In addition to that, he had family engagements already scheduled for May and June, so that's why he was out. These were already scheduled things, so nothing to do with mental health. Those reports were completely bogus. And another thing that is worth to note is that Bray Wyatt changed his name on Instagram to The Wyndham Rotunda, and his Instagram bio now reads, join the cult of Wyndham. And he also posted something very, very interesting on his social media right here. He posted this picture on his Twitter and on his Instagram with the caption, "You can't kill it," alluding to what we can only assume to be a fresher, I guess, character addition to the Bray Wyatt / Fiend character. So, Trevor, what do you make about this post from Bray Wyatt, and is it potentially alluding to another character?
I think it could be. With him, he, like he said, he was taking some time off working on his character creatively. The man is creative as hell. Like, that's one of the things about Bray. Bray Wyatt is one of the most creative wrestlers I've seen in a while. Just the work he's done with the Fiend, the work he's actually done with the Wyatt family. He's very creative. So I wouldn't be. Everything all right?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I saw a thing on the screen. Never mind. Anyway, so but no, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if he's working on a new character. But my question is it one of those situations that WWE realized they screwed up and bring him back, or if he's going somewhere else?
The Cult of Wyndham. The Cult of Wyndham. He's going somewhere else. He would have been the Cult of Wyndham. He's going somewhere else. This guy, they misused him. They abused him. They lost him. You lost him. You lose him. You snooze and you lose, and you just and I don't even know what I'm saying, but Bray Wyatt is going somewhere else, and you can rest assured that whatever this incarnation of the Fiend is going to be the uncensored, uncut version that Bray Wyatt always wanted to deliver. The real version of the Fiend, the version that was too good for WWE, the version that was too creative for WWE because they didn't come up with it, the version that the wrestling fans and Wyndham Rotunda deserve.
No.
That is what we're going to see from this. It's a new character. Obviously, the mask is scarier, or the design, the concept art, whatever it is, it's scarier. I love the allusion already to it, and I love the fact that we're hearing that Bray Wyatt wants to continue doing wrestling. Like I said, he could be a great actor.
Fans,
He could be a great actor. He could be great at anything else he does. But Bray Wyatt in wrestling has a connection with the fans that is honestly second to none. I can't explain it to you. Everything this guy has done in his career has worked. When he gave that company lemons, they would somehow find a way he would give them lemonade. They would find a way to turn to lemons, but there was always that it would always work. Initially, at least, it would always work. But I hope Bray goes to a place. And look, if you get Bray Wyatt, I don't care whether you're Ring of Honor, AEW, New Japan, TNA, doesn't matter. Whoever gets Bray Wyatt, you're letting him do what he does because he's Bray freaking Wyatt, because he's Wyndham freaking Rotunda, because he's the greatest genius, creative genius in wrestling since Jake Roberts. This guy, his ring psychology, everything, his mentality, his promos are amazing, and I truly cannot wait to see him go elsewhere. He deserves it, and we deserve it too.
Definitely. There's nothing I can possibly say to top what you just said. So I agree.
I agree too. I am amazing.
Oh, dear God.
Here you go. I'm gonna be like 30 years from now. I'm gonna be booking a Real Take, and I'm just gonna be like, you don't like what you like. You like what I tell you to like. But yeah, look, I mean, yeah, Bray Wyatt's gonna do great. Look, Wyndham also since he just said in the chat, Wyndham is an amazing name, by the way. It is an amazing name. Like, yeah, truly.
It is.
What a
Barry Wyndham
name.
is a great name.
But Wyndham Rotunda, like, oof.
That's a great combination.
I can't wait. Dude, Bray Wyatt, like, if we're actually going to get, if we're going to get whatever this is, I don't care. I don't even care. It's not going to be called The Fiend. I don't care. Whatever's going to be called, that's what I'm going to call it. It is going to be amazing. Please, just go to AEW.
Do it.
Go to AEW.
You think AEW is going to let him be that as dark as he needs to be, though?
Yes, 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 yes. Yes, they are. They better. They freaking better.
Ass fan.
Let's take a look at the chat before we move on. NXT is the only show they don't bury Finn Balor on. Already read that. Since he says they're going to AEW and they're going to make the Disputed Era. I'm assuming he's talking about Fish and Kyle O'Reilly and Fish and Adam Cole. CC says, how you just ease that in, Omer. Mwah, chef's kiss. Yes, I just do it. I'm quoting CC, by the way, on that one. Since he says Omer doesn't shill as much on his politics show, because I'm serious on there. Since he also says maybe he's alluding to WWE trying to kill the Fiend. I think that's true. I actually think that's very true. They're trying to allude to them trying to kill the Fiend, but you can't kill him. Can't kill him. You can't kill on Friday night. Wyndham is the most godly name for a creepy character. Ain't that the truth, buddy?
It is.
It is. But Wyndham is a great name.
That's actually one of his family names. His Barry Wyndham was like his uncle or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I would say another good one was like Waylon Mercy, man. Waylon Mercy was like back in the 90s.
Yeah, that was a great name.
That was the inspiration for Bray Wyatt, and then that's why you got the Buzzard. Its name is his name is Mercy the Buzzard, right? Like that's why. Everything.
He also took heavy inspirations from Jake Roberts too.
Well, yeah, that's like the way he cut his promos. But Waylon Mercy was like he's the guy who Bray Wyatt actually modeled his cult character after, and his promos a little bit. But yeah, you're right, because like the eye contact, that's the thing that made Jake Roberts so special was the way he looked at you, because he looked at you with those piercing eyes, and it was one of those things you couldn't look away. And he spoke in that soft voice.
In that voice, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
the word where he pronounced the words, and was just that.
And Bray Wyatt, he has that look. He looks like he could genuinely be a cult character, and that's like or a cult like leader. It's scary. Since last thing we'll read before we move on. Since he says, "Have you seen Malachi Black? They'll let Wind." Have you seen? Or he's talking to you. Have you seen Malachi Black? They'll let Wyndham be as dark as he wants to.
How dark has Malachi Black been compared to what anything Bray Wyatt has done?
Have you? Oh, I have a video. Parts Fun Known did a video about Malachi Black, and
I saw that.
And Malachi Black said that video is like 95% true. They got it spot on. Like it's dark, bro. He's like,
no, I mean he's going to be dark, but we haven't seen him do anything super dark yet. You know what I mean?
Bro, Nick Gage went out there and stabbed Chris Jericho with a fucking light tube.
And how much flack did they get for that?
This is different. This is like character stuff, bro. You can do scary. You just can't do like, maiming people.
Cut somebody's head open.
You can't try to murder people literally on TV.
He literally did. He
try to murder. It's like, God, please. Well, dude, if we're ever doing a Nick Gage interview and someone has to be in the same room with him, you're gonna be the one in the room. I'm gonna be in via Zoom, bro.
Well, I already was next to the ring where he's like smashed somebody in a light tube and like.
Bro, you're gonna go in there wearing a whole hazmat suit, like. Please don't hurt me, sir.
But you knew getting cut. No.
Anyway. So that puts us in. We ended on this is the most positive note we've ever ended on in a WWE part of this segment ever. Like this is WWE got some problems. Anyway, people who don't have problems, Trevor, people who do not have any problems at all are AEW. AEW Rampage is set to debut this Friday night at 10 p.m. live on TNT from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The debut episode will most likely feature the hometown hero of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the All Elite Wrestling Women's World Champion, the good Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. It will also feature the very interesting commentary team of Excalibur, Taz, Mark Henry, and the Painmaker, Le Champion, the Demo God, Chris Jericho. All four of them will be on commentary.
That's going to be interesting to see.
It's going to be very interesting. So, Trevor, my first question to you about this is AEW Rampage is debuting. What do you think about the way it's been rolled out so far and just as we're leading up to it? What are you looking forward to the most about just the concept of AEW Rampage?
Just the overall atmosphere, just the just how it's presented. I think it's going to be presented well, but I mean, you never know. I want to see how it rolls through. I think everything is going to be great. The commentators, to me, is actually very interesting. That is part that I really, really want to hear. Like, it's just because it's so many names, like, I mean, yeah, these guys have worked together for years, but most of them anyway, but I wonder how, like, the different egos, the different minds are going to meld well together. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm definitely excited to see this.
Yeah, I mean, I see. Here's the thing. I have a weird thing about a 4-man booth. I think that's kind of overdoing it.
Yeah.
But I mean, that being like it's just a lot. It can be a lot to keep track of with a 4-person booth, even though it's only an hour-long show. I get that, but 4 people, it seems like a bit much. I feel like if we're being honest, maybe Taz would be the one to get cut on that because I mean,
he probably will at some point.
At some point, yeah. I mean, and there's no offense to Taz. I like what he does one-on-one with Excalibur on Dark. Like I actually like Taz on commentary, but I think 4 is just too much. And if we got to do the cut one, bench one kind of thing, like Taz would be probably the one who was cut. But I mean,
I've never heard Mark Henry do commentary.
That's what I'm interested to hear. That's what because I feel like he's gonna put people over. Like that's what he's gonna do. Like him and Jericho gonna do an amazing job of putting people over. You need Excalibur on there because Excalibur is the voice of AEW. Like that is when we're talking about the voice of AEW. He is that guy. He's the play-by-play kind of guy. And also the guy who knows everything about the product. Like he's insane. So love Excalibur. For some reason Excalibur gets so much hate. I don't know why. We did a video about a few months ago where we talked about how we thought Excalibur was the best commentator in AEW, and there were so many fans who were like, Excalibur needs to be cut, Excalibur needs to go. I'm like, what do you mean? He's literally the best commentator they have.
I didn't like him much either. Early on, I didn't like him, but I gave him
Why
a
is
shot.
that? Why is that? Why do you think that is?
I felt early on, like, and I think that's, and from what I've like heard other people I know that don't like Excalibur, I think it was the same reason. Like, they feel like he's, just because he's calling out all the moves and things like that, it can get a bit monotonous. The fact that everyone does a tope suicida every 5 minutes, that was kind of annoying some people. But for me, I think it was more so that at one point it was, and I think it was more nerves than anything else. Now he's comfortable. You know what I mean? Now he's
There were times where he was like, slipping on his words or whatever, or stuttering. Like that happens. He's on national
and that's
TV.
Why that's why I said I like the guy. I honestly think he's one of the best commentators on AEW.
Okay, who's the best commentator on AEW?
Yeah, I just said.
No, who is the best? The best.
Oh, the best.
The best right now. Who is it?
Probably Excalibur or when Jericho. When
Well, Jericho is money, but
yeah.
I'm talking week to week right now. It's Excalibur.
It's Excalibur. Yeah, it's Excalibur.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like.
I mean, I like you said. I like Taz and I like Taz and Excalibur. I like Taz. I do. I just think Excalibur's better.
Yeah, I think so too. But I'm excited to hear that team. Regardless, it's an hour long. It's every week. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be live. It's gonna be. It's just. I know we like. We're not gonna talk about it really in depth until next week.
Yeah.
Trevor, guess who just opened up more seats for Chicago?
Really?
I'm thinking. I know it's only a week out. I'm thinking about it. I might do it, bro. And they're like $35 a pop. I might do it. I genuinely might do it because, dude, AEW. Here's the thing, and this is has nothing to do with wrestling news, by the way. This is just me like deciding whether or not to go to Chicago on the 20th. For me, it's one of those things where I'm just like, I could spend all that money, go out there, whatever. They're like, that's whatever. It's like a 200 whatever flight. I could be there for like a day. But like, I think about, do I want to do all that work? But then I'm like, dude, if I go there, I'm witnessing wrestling history. Like, that's guaranteed. Like, how many times, Trevor, can you go to a show knowing that you are going to witness one of the most special things in the history of wrestling? Because, like maybe actually, like, when CM Punk came out in Money in the Bank, like, I don't know why, there was that special aura, like in 2011, there was that special aura about being in that crowd, and knowing you were going to see something special, like similar thing with Daniel Bryan in the Superdome 2014. But like this is right up there, man. This is like, Punk is going to be there. That crowd is going to be raucous, and that it's going to be one of the most electric feelings in the history of wrestling. And I'm just like, I'm convincing myself by dealing with this.
It's gonna be amazing, dude. It really is. Like you said, how many times in your life can you say, "I witnessed wrestling history"?
Well, yeah. I mean, like going to the first AEW Dynamite show, maybe. But
I witnessed that. Yeah.
But even this supersedes that. Honestly, this is CM Punk returning to wrestling for the first time in 7 years for a rival upstart company on a Friday night in Chicago at the United Center, sold out on a. Michael.
Yeah, it's good shit. It's
such good shit. Goddamn, pal. Who'd they get? Phil Brooks. Oh, you mean Punk? Goddamn. We're just making noises now. I don't know what I'm doing with my life. I'm just goofy. But yeah, I cut one hell of a promo right there. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, that was a hell of a promo, dude.
I cut one hell of a promo on myself right there, just like trying to convince myself to go to this event. I might actually. If I do, man, I'll do a little something. I'll do a little something special.
Little
Interview some people out there.
All right,
Mr.
I'm
Character.
Homer. Talk to me.
That's literally what I'll do. Let's go up to. Hey, I have a YouTube channel. You want to be on YouTube? Okay, cool. Then I'll get them subscribed. Anyway, speaking of which, we have 6 viewers right now and 9 likes. Nice. As much as I like the 6 to 9 ratio, I would definitely like more likes on this video, more subscribers, more viewers. Like this video so more people can see it. Hit that subscription button as well and that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. All that zhuzh. Trevor, let's move on. Talk about one of the best things that happened in wrestling over the past week, and that is the debut match of Malachi Black. Malachi Black made his AEW in-ring debut against the artist known as Cody. I messed that up, goddammit. 2 take Omar right here. All right, let's go again. Did Malachi Black retire Cody Rhodes? Question mark. Malachi Black did destroy him. I can tell you that in less than 5 minutes. It was a quick, dominant, decisive victory for the ominous man from Amsterdam, and it culminated in a black mass kick or whatever he's gonna call it from now on. The former TNT champion got sent to the timekeeper's area. It was bad. It looked like he was out. Looked like he caught him, and then Malachi Black hit him with that very disrespectful 1 foot on his chest type of pin. And it was 1, 2, 3 all over from there. After the match, Cody signaled at a potential retirement. He started taking off his boots before Malachi Black took the crutch that was brought into the ring to help Cody Rhodes and hit him with it in the back. So, Trevor, what do we think of the way Malachi Black dominated, absolutely dominated at AEW Homecoming last week?
We've said it before. I'll say it again. Cody does a good job of putting people over, you know? and he gets compared to Triple H a lot. No, I will not allow that. He does a good job of putting people over. It reminded me similar to the Brody Lee match where he got completely decimated and Brody Lee was completely over. Even if it appeared that he wasn't completely before that match, he was completely over after that match. But no, man, I thought it was a good thing for Malachi. I thought that choice to make him completely dominant to Cody was a good choice. I thought it was a good job. And it did a good job, and Cody did a good job selling it too. I'm not sure what, the whole angle with him taking his boots off. I mean, it looked like he was going to retire, but I'm not sure, how far they're going to go into that. But whatever they do, I'm pretty sure it's going to be money.
It is. I think it's going to be absolute money. Malachi Black looked like a main event type of guy, an unstoppable heel, an unstoppable monster who sets his sights on something and doesn't stop until he's accomplished his goal. His goal was to take out the light, to dominate with darkness, and that is exactly what he did in the under 5 minutes in which he dominated, absolutely killed Cody Rhodes in this matchup, hit him with that crutch in the back, and then just led to another dominant scene of him closing out Dynamite. Malachi Black, Aleister Black, who would have thought in August of 2021 we would see Aleister, Malachi, Tommy End closing out an AEW show in the main event? Who would have thought that just a few months ago? It is crazy how fast wrestling can move. And look, I was going to ask, what do we think is going to happen to this feud? This feud is obviously going to continue. I don't think Cody Rhodes was going to retire, or I don't think he's going to retire, but
no,
I won't lie to you, Trevor. Call me a geek, call me a dweeb, call me a mark, call me whatever. But man, when Cody it was the voice, I don't know what it was. The voice he said it in, it got me. It got me for like a solid 10 seconds. Like legitimately where I was like, oh shit, he's going to retire. And then Malachi came in the ring and I was like, okay, cool. But it's one of those rare moments where you're just like, oh, it's real. It's real. Like you fall for the trick. You fall for the illusion.
Cody's the hell of a salesman, man. He does a good job of what he does.
Ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth? And look, but what do you think about the way he dominated? Like, what does this mean for Malachi Black moving forward? Because Cody's gonna go away, do his show, and film that and all that kind of stuff. But what does it mean for Malachi Black?
Well, one, like I said earlier, it puts him over almost immediately. You know what I mean? And then it has him looked at by the fans as this dominant force. He just put down third generation Cody Rhodes, the great Cody Rhodes that's going through all this. Like you set up a lot of storylines for a guy like that, Like when you come in and you just dominate a top guy, like off bucks like 5 minutes, now put you completely over and you can do almost anything you want with that character at that point.
Absolutely. The webcam is shot, but absolutely, I agree.
I'm like, why is he just sitting there?
I'm just a ghost. No, but since he just said the funniest thing ever in the chat. Since he just said nobody gonna talk about how Nikki Cross went from clinically insane to almost a superhero.
Oh, Cincy.
Completely derailed this segment, by the way. Completely derailed this segment.
Oh, God bless Cincy. God bless him.
Though. He's right. Maybe
I didn't pay attention to that.
Maybe the gimmick is she's still clinically insane.
And she thinks she's a superhero.
Oh, my God.
God, that was amazing.
Why was that so funny?
God, that was amazing.
Nobody, it's so random too. He's just like, we weren't even talking about that.
No, not at all.
He's like, nobody gonna talk about this. Oh my God.
Shit.
Oh.
Pay attention to me.
Since he's like CM Punk back in 2011, do I have your attention now? Yes, you do, kid.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, you
Yes,
do.
you do.
Oh my. Okay, well, yeah.
That segment's over.
Hey, good for Malachi. Good for Malachi. He's not.
Oh shit.
Good for Malachi. He's not black. I'm sorry. Messy. That was messy. I understand that was messy, but
well, it looks like I'm going to give you my resignation live on YouTube.
I'm stating a fact. He's not.
That's hilarious.
Let me stop. Anyway, continuing on. Let's just carry on because we have other things. Guys, let's carry on, cross this bridge, and go to a different topic. Oh, I love my puns, Michael. I'm going insane. Slipping into complete and utter madness, by the way.
Oh yeah, it's been there for the past hour.
Let's move on and talk about AEW. Trevor, did you know that AEW cares?
No.
Who would have thought about that? AEW gives a shit about its fans, and you know who they have.
You get rich by not giving a shit about people.
Well, I mean, look, first, yeah. Yeah, well, you know what? Yeah, I can't really argue with that because that's been WWE's whole thing for the past 30 years. But
I'm sorry.
Yeah, AEW cares about their fans, according to Renee Paquette, formerly known as Renee Young. She said in an interview just recently that, talking about AEW storylines, it's so layered, so intriguing. There's really so much to sink your teeth into as a wrestling fan. There are so many deep roots that make storytelling fun and engaging to watch, and that's something you just don't see in WWE. So she's speaking out very candidly about that. She went on to say that they, being AEW, don't treat their fans as stupid in terms of not knowing what is and what this is and where we're going to be. And look, she went on to say a lot of positive stuff about AEW and critique things we already know that are problems with WWE. And the biggest one, though, was the fact that WWE sometimes tends to treat their fans like they're stupid. They don't know what they're watching or they don't care about it. So, Trevor, after you hear that criticism, what's your take on it? Is she right?
Oh, she's 100% right. I believe at this point with AEW, it's fun. If that makes sense. It's not only a business, it's also fun. This is something they enjoy doing. Tony Khan loves wrestling. This is something he enjoys doing. It's a young company, it's a hungry company. They're gonna tend to their fans. WWE is no longer hungry. They don't care. At this point, they don't give a damn. If you're happy, you're happy. If you're not, whatever. So it's a different look at the situation. You have one company that's up and coming that's still trying to develop a rapport with their fans. It's kind of like a fighter, like a boxer. He's gonna take every fight. He's gonna train as hard as he possibly can every fight because he's hungry. He's up and coming. Then you have the veteran fighter that he's like, I just want the money at this point. I don't really care. He's not gonna do what he did to get to the point he is now. Every fight. So and that's kind of what it is, and that's kind of my take on it. Now, I mean, that's probably not what other people see it is, but that's kind of my take on it.
I mean, yeah, I agree. So we've been saying this for years, though. WWE doesn't really they somehow treat their fans. They treat fans like they're idiots because they don't think fans pay attention to the storylines. They don't think, even though that's the thing. Fans who complain on Twitter are the same fans who are buying your product. We pay attention. That's why wrestling fans are so angry all the time, because we pay attention, and it's like we're constantly being insulted for paying attention, because WWE has the memory of an ant when it comes to storyline and booking storylines. It's just true. No offense to ants, but it's true. It's just the WWE does something so much better, or so much worse than AEW. AEW, does something so much better than WWE is what I should say. And that is, they make storylines that make sense, and they have a plan, and they set seeds for it, which you almost never see in WWE. It's changing from week to week. We don't know who's going to be on top from one week going to the next. I mean, and it's just boring. It's redundant. But in AEW, it's kind of like watching Game of Thrones. It's an imperfect thing, but it's kind of like watching any gripping drama, Game of Thrones, Breaking Bad, where most things matter. Like in AEW, they'll have one segment or one match where it's just like, oh, fun, haha. But other than that, it's like most things in that company, as far as planting seeds, even matter, because they always come back to different things. They always come back to all of this stuff. Like the Hangman Adam Page storyline might be one of the best tidbits of long-term booking in modern wrestling history. That storyline is just one of the greatest we've seen. They're still not done with it. They've extended it, but they're still not done with it. But it really does speak to how WWE just, I think they just see their audience as idiots, and I don't get that. How do you okay, it's one thing to think of your audience as idiots, but it is another thing to actually look at the reality of, okay, most of these people pay attention, they understand what is happening, but they're confused. Why are they confused? Maybe because you change everything you're doing on a dime. And that's just true. It's just true. One company knows what they're doing and sticks to what they're doing and has the foresight and the attention span to stick to what they're doing. One company doesn't. And that's why you're seeing a lot of people flock over to this one and not WWE.
Yep. I mean, and it's gonna happen especially if this continues. It's gonna happen. AEW continues to cater to their fans, right? I mean, they're booking people that fans want to see. They're booking matches that fans are interested in. WWE, we don't care. We're gonna, the people they want to see. Guess what? We're gonna get rid of, because that makes fiscal sense.
It doesn't even make fiscal sense. They're making so much money.
Exactly. It's just dumb.
It's yeah. It's like that. You watch South Park, right?
Yeah, love South Park.
You used to watch South Park. You remember when who was it? Remember when the episode where Chef got sued, right? Remember they had this character Chef. He got sued or whatever for some copyright stuff, right?
Right.
And the defense for the whoever the defense were or whatever, they hired Johnny Cochran.
Oh shit! I remember this episode.
To quote Johnny Cochran from that specific scene in that specific episode, It doesn't make sense.
That shit was hilarious.
It doesn't make
But no,
sense. South Park. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. I don't understand. Another thing I want to talk about very quickly while we're on this. So, Renee Paquette, formerly known as Renee Young, she obviously has ties to AEW. She is she holds this distinction of being one of the only people in wrestling history to ever have a 1 year long no compete clause in her contract after she left the company rather. Like literally, it's 1 year long. Like she couldn't work for a year. I think it's coming up like pretty soon. Like she might be in time to work all out. But you know, so when I'm thinking about Renee Young or Renee Paquette rather, she just had a child, so she's gonna be like, you know, fairly busy for a while. But when she decides to get back into things, aside from even wrestling, like she could obviously come to AEW, and we'll talk about that. But aside from wrestling, this is a woman who is really, really good at her job of interviewing people, of talking to people, and talking about sports and whatever. If you're ESPN, how do you not pick her up like immediately?
Yeah. I was thinking the same thing. Like, her knowledge is ridiculous, absolutely insane. Like, her knowledge on just basic sports is phenomenal. And I don't know if you watch her podcast or her live stream she does. She just had a interview with Danhausen, which was absolutely incredible. It was so funny. And she also did one with Matt Cardona like a day or two after the death match. But she's phenomenal. Like she's very good at her job. She can literally get a job anywhere.
Yeah, and you know, like again, ESPN, all these places would be lucky to have her, and she deserves that much. She deserves to like do whatever she wants because she's that talented. She's genuine. Like WWE lost somebody who literally had. They have their person right there. They had their woman right there who was like gonna be that person to be there all around. Like the pre-show panel, she was perfect. Like there's nobody. No offense to Mean Gene Okerlund. No offense. In my opinion, I think I think she played off of people the best in interviews. I think there's nobody who did her job better in that company, and that's just my opinion. I know that's a hot topic or a bold prediction or bold opinion, whatever. Real take right there. That's a real take, is what it is. but I think, you know, aside from doing other stuff, I think she could have a role in AEW. Like, don't you like? And look, they do TV once a week. They have quarterly pay-per-views. It's not like she's gonna be like needed for every single week or whatever. Her husband is like the main event guy there in AEW. She has a good relationship with them. Like, and also it wouldn't restrict her from her own podcast too, because she's someone who kind of supersedes all that BS, and AEW doesn't really care about that. She can interview people who are in AEW, TNA, Ring of Honor, wherever. It doesn't matter because one, AEW's working with them. Two, Tony Khan doesn't care. He likes the cross promotional appeal. Exactly. WWE might not want their superstar to be on her show, but that's a whole separate thing. But could you see her in some capacity doing like AEW stuff, like maybe even a pre-show thing or interview thing?
Honestly, I could see her if they let her, if that's the road they want to take. Like once they really get Rampage down, she could be one of the commentators at some point.
Yeah, and I think she'd be great in that. I want to see like better things though out of the AEW, like the AEW pre-shows, right? I feel like that could she could be great for that, and backstage
and WWE.
Yeah,
you know,
backstage interviewing too. Like, no offense to Alex Marvez, I like Alex Marvez.
I do.
I like Alex Marvez, but Renee Young would be an upgrade.
It would be a nice little change of pace.
But you
they
could
have
be
a woman. Don't they have a woman that does that backstage?
Dasha, right? Dasha is her name. Dasha, is it, I don't remember her last name.
I don't remember her last name. I know it's Dasha, but they don't do enough with her, I don't think.
Yeah, but I mean, look, it's like Renee Young though. It's like you know, getting it's like if you have I liken it to this. It's like if you have a good quarterback, like, you know, like you got a Derek Carr, right? You got a Derek Carr, good functional quarterback. Sometimes is great, but then Tom Brady comes in the open market and he wants to come to your team.
Right.
Like, or it's just like you're going with Tom Brady. You're signing Tom Brady.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's like
he's functional, but I want Tom Brady. So
it's the same justification I would use with the CM Punk and Daniel Bryan signings too. It's just like, oh wow, two of the greatest to ever do it are available and want to come to my company. I'm not gonna do it because I don't want WWE rejects. I'm so bad. There we go. If AEW really wants to compete with WWE, that's how you compete with them. Compete with bad business. That's where you go. Who has the worst business? That's the real wrestling war.
Right.
Anyway, let's move on, Trevor, and talk about this thing that right here. There we go. See this thing right here. Who's returning to wrestling? Actually, before we do that, let's read out some chats real quick. Here we go. I see why they added the almost, cause a clinically insane woman can't fully be a superhero. Jesus Christ. All right.
God damn it.
Okay. All right. Well, we're done with that now. CC says WWE treats their fans like pets. They dangle something in front of their faces, expecting them to continue to pay attention, then doesn't give anything to them. Wow. Spot on, CC. Spot on. There's no trust in that company. It's completely obvious and sad. Yes, it is. Cincy says they gave Orange Cassidy main event, so I agree. AEW books wrestlers. They book them pretty well. Okay, yeah. That's true. All right, and Cassidy deserves to be in the main event. Anyway, speaking of someone who's going to be in the main event of AEW at some point, he has to be. CM Punk is in redo.
You take over.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a shirt that says that. Two take, real take. Oh no, I'm gonna have to say real take. Cross out the real, like two take. Anyway, so as CM Punk prepares for his in-ring return, we got a glimpse at him and his preparations. CM Punk is apparently training for an in-ring return. I wonder what that means, Trevor. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful reported that CM Punk is training for his in-ring return, and he also noted that Punk has looked, quote, promising in the ring and in his practices, and that is music to the ears of many wrestling fans. It is also reported by multiple sources that Punk has signed with AEW and will debut on next Friday in front of a sold-out United Center in his home city of Chicago, Illinois, for Rampage: The First Dance. Trevor, what do you make of this report about Punk looking good in these practice sessions that he's been having in his in-ring training?
I was wondering how much training he was doing. I mean, I'm sure an extensive amount since he's planning a return. He looks old in this picture, actually, but I mean that's good to hear that he's looking good and he's actually actively training, because that's one of my biggest pet peeves, that you have these older wrestlers, and not saying he's old because he's really not that old in the grand scheme of things, but older wrestlers that stop wrestling for a while and they don't do the proper training, and then they get in the ring and they botch a move, or they just don't look good, and but it makes me feel good to know that he's actually doing something and actually training and taking it seriously. I mean, but he's pretty active and healthy anyway. He was doing MMA.
He was doing UFC. He was doing UFC.
Yeah.
He did 2 events for UFC. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, but I think it's a good omen. It's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good thing. I'm glad to hear he's promising. It means that not only hasn't CM Punk lost a step like so many WWE marks want him to, but it also means he's taking it seriously and he wants to do it. And I think that's the biggest thing, right?
Right.
Because CM Punk is someone, when he wants to do something, it's going to be good, because he's one of those people, he's driven to be great. Like, he didn't call himself the best in the world for no reason. Punk has this mentality of, I'm going to go out there and do the best thing that I could do. Like, look back at, he had the same mentality when he did that match with Taker at Mania 29, I believe it was. Like he didn't even want to, no offense, but like he didn't want to wrestle Taker because he believed he should have been the main event. But what did he do? He said, I'm going to have the best damn match on this pay-per-view. Nobody's going to fill my boots. And he went out there and he did that. Best match of the night with a 45-year-old Undertaker. And look, if Punk wants to be in AEW, if Punk wants to do this, the fact that he's training is good. The fact that he's looking promising in the ring is good. I just can't wait to see him. That first match he's going to have is going to be insane. And
even if I don't go, I'm going to mark the fuck out.
Oh my God, dude. It's like, it's going to be insane. And look, it's one of those things where he, like, people are going to, like, probably hype it up, right? And so, it didn't live up to expectations. Doesn't matter. If it's good, it's good. And I think that there's no really worries about that. I think the other thing is, like, what do we expect to see out of him? Like what do I expect to see out of Punk is like someone who not only hasn't really lost his step, but someone who cares enough to make it look like he's working. And I think there's no problem there. Punk's a professional. Punk is as professionals come. So all of those problems are alleviated. Trevor, what do you expect though to see out of Punk in his return?
I'm wondering if he's going to change his style a little bit, actually. If he's still going to be, I mean, he's going to be technical. He's going to be that same technical Punk that we grown to love. But I want to see if he takes some of the high flying out, or he adds something else. What he actually adds to his repertoire.
It's interesting because that was the thing about Bryan. So Daniel Bryan, when he came back, in 2018, he did that. He incorporated more striking. He took less head bumps and more like shoulder bumps, and bumped on his back and bumped on his side, especially to avoid those debilitating injuries and whatnot. And it worked. And it was subtle changes in the way he took things. And I think Punk was probably going to incorporate a lot of that and a lot of his MMA training as well, because he's been doing that even when he was in WWE. But I think he'll build off of that.
Doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, right?
Yeah. He was doing Nogi, and he. So I could see Punk. Like I think Punk would probably incorporate a style similar, like not exactly the same, but like similar to that of Bryan, taking less hard bumps, making sure that you protect your body, and if you do take a bad bump, it's worth it. So that's what I want to see. And I want to. I love CM Punk, but I don't want to see CM Punk try to go, like destroy his body for my entertainment. No, he's done that enough. Do I want to see CM Punk kick ass in the ring? Yes, but you don't need to destroy yourself in order to do that, as you will probably tell us about in like 30 seconds when we get to this next segment, because there are certain people who love to destroy themselves for our entertainment. But Trevor, we're a week out. We'll talk about it in depth, I'm sure, over the next 2 weeks, because it's happening. It's happening.
It's upon us.
CM Punk, on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you?
I'm a 30. Honestly, CM Punk was one of the wrestlers I was getting into and got into in ROH, and I absolutely love CM Punk. But to see that he's back, dude, I probably won't mark out as much as you are when Daniel Bryan makes his appearance, but I'm going to mark out.
Dynamite Grand, I'm going to Dynamite Grand Slam. That's just happening. I will sleep at the subway, like, if I have to. I am going to Dynamite Grand Slam. I might have a heart attack when that happens, though. But we'll see.
So maybe we can go see that.
Yeah, I wish they were running. Why can't AEW come back to where it all begins again? DC.
Exactly. God damn it, come back to DC.
AEW 30 or 20, where it all begins again. Well, actually, hold up. Before we move on to your segment, let me just see where AEW is going to be over the next few months. Cincinnati, Newark, New York, Rochester, New York, Philadelphia. Nunny. Boston. We're not going to Boston. We might could make the St. Louis show Full Gear. That might be it.
Maybe that could be.
It's on a Saturday.
That
could be. Hey man, Oh, yeah. I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen.
Figure it out.
Yes, we will. Yes, we will. But you know what I do know is if you love me, you care about me, you're gonna hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new episode is released. Um, yeah, all that stuff. Please subscribe. Love you guys. Hit that like button too. Come on, like, please do me a solid. Do me a solid. I might go to the one in Natty, says Cincy. Of course you will.
Cincinnati.
I wonder why that'd be the case. All right, so we are done. This is going to be our last segment of the show before we get into the Real Take Overtime segment on patreon.com/Real Take Sports. If you want to get access to that and some exclusive documentaries that I have coming out over the next week, get early access to those. Those will be posted later in the month, but you can see it first before everyone on Thursday. The first one comes out. That is telling the story of the shortest baseball player ever. So that's an interesting thing that I did. So patreon.com/Real Take Sports. You also get access to our overtime segment, which is every single week after this show. Anyway, that was a bad one. Anyway, so we are moving on to a segment that Trevor and I like to call the Wrestling Spotlight. So this is a segment every week where Trevor, he acknowledges some of the best wrestlers and things in wrestling that are going on or that have happened that he likes to bring attention to. So Trevor, what do you got for us this week?
Got a good one for you this week, man. Got a good one. So this week, today's spotlight, we're going to dive into the world of ultra-violent wrestling. More specifically, CZW. I'm sure most of our wow, that's a picture. I'm sure most of our watchers are, familiar with this particular brand of violence. But we're not going to spotlight the company. No, we're just going to spotlight what they've created, which is the Tournament of Death. So August 31st, 2002 was the time where everyone got their first glimpse of this bloody, but of this hellacious tournament, in which a light tube to the forehead is a gift, and laying in a pool of blood, of your own blood, is sickly satisfying. Zandig's Ultraviolet Tournament of Death, which is what was the original name, is a mostly, it's kind of like, if you've never seen it before, it's kind of like King of the Ring. It's a single elimination style match tournament set up. It's a King of the Ring with blood. Shut up. Anyway, it's a single elimination tournament. Most of the matches are tournament matches. In later years, they set up where they had like special matches. Like this particular one, the very first one was set up with the storyline. John Zandig was competing against DJ Hyde for his company and a bunch of other stuff. So those weren't tournament matches, but mostly they do tournament play. So it's a spectacle. The first year of this bloody spectacle was a showcase for a lot of the local indie stars, and for some trying to make the name for themselves. Names include Sanjay Dutt, Necro Butcher, for those in the indie scene who know who he is, and Ruckus, just to name a few this time. With the smoke clearing and controversy rising, the Tournament of Death became an annual thing, with most stars taking interest in the lost art of the death match. But because at this point, death matches happened, but weren't highly publicized. So this is what I'm thinking. Early 2000s, death matches happened again, like I said, but they weren't as publicized as this, and they weren't this extreme exactly. So they brought it back, and it came out of everything. In the rise and fame of their resident psychopath, Nick Gage, who was there for his tenure. He started with CCW. He was actually one of the people that was trained out of Zandig's training facility, and also helped launch the Tournament of Death. It was part of his idea, actually. Surprise. As the success grew, so did the violence. Some of the notable matches include barbed wire board matches, light tubes on the ropes when they use their light tubes and ropes, and one of my favorites, and whatever weapon you can find in the back match. This is honestly true. This was an actual match between DJ Hyde and I forget who else. And the stipulation was you had to find this weapon in the back to use it. As more people showed interest in these gruesome matches, it seemed like Delaware was getting a little cramped. So they took their violence overseas. In 2010, while CCW was in full swing and the Tournament of Death was hot, with DJ Hyde as the new owner, CCW took his unique brand of violence to Germany with a cast of superstars that would make any indie promoter jealous. Omar, just listen to the superstars they had at this time: Drew Gulak, Adam Cole, John Moxley, Zack Sabre Jr., and of course the late great Danny Havoc. With this event, CCW helped cement their legacy in wrestling history for years to come, and helped spawn some very successful superstars in the process. With all the controversy and negative views people have about violent wrestling, the Tournament of Death still has a huge following and has taken its spot in this week's wrestling spotlight. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So we talked about you doing this. You even asked me like, is it cool if I do an event and not a person? I was like, yeah, play your music your way, right? The fact you chose this, I liked it. I learned some things from it. And by the way, don't you love how I made it all red? Like there's like so it looks like spattered blood behind Nick Gage and everywhere.
I actually saw this match here too.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you were there. We're gonna find you in the background of one of these videos one day. But
you are. Trust me.
So again, I have to ask you, how did you get into deathmatch wrestling? Because that's something I've always wondered.
And I thought that's what you were gonna. And I actually was gonna explain it. So it's kind of weird. So ECW, when ECW came out, I remember hearing about it, right? But I don't remember really watching it at the time. One of my buddies, I was big into WWF at the time and huge on WWF. My brother got me into WCW. There were times where you would be able to watch Chikara certain times, and that was a Japanese promotion back in the day. And even before all that, I watched Texas Southern. But so I remember being at one of my friend's house, and we were talking about wrestling. He was like, "Yo, have you heard of ECW?" Blah blah blah. And I'm like, "No, I've never heard. I mean, I've heard of it, but I don't really know what it is." He popped in a tape because back then, the ECW you could buy just like a RH. You could buy the DVDs. They didn't show them on TV a lot, so And so we watched. I believe it was Psycho Sid power bombing someone through like pretty much a mountain of tables. And then I also saw Bam Bam Bigelow, we was talking about earlier. And I'm watching this. I was like, "Yo, this is sick. This is crazy. This is like, why would people do this?" Right? Fast forward, I'm in high school. My buddies in wrestling. I'm like at 10th grade, 11th grade. Buddies in wrestling, and we start backyard wrestling. Right? And like I learned to take a couple bumps and things like that. And then one day we were having a match, and I took a chair shot to the back, my back and the back of my head area, and like it wasn't my head, it was like my back, kind of like I don't know if the chair cut it, whatever, but it started gushing, and like right then and there it was like I was like, "Oh, this is stupid, but it's fun," and then I started watching CCW, and I just got a taste of it, and like I can't say that I originally liked it because I originally didn't. I thought it was sick, but I took I guess a admiration to it because like as sick as it is, it's sickly beautiful because it's an art form, right? Is there to a degree? It's part of wrestling, and it's kind of an art form because they're expressing themselves in different ways. Yes, they're trying to kill each other, but they're expressing each other in different ways. So I took it as a different style of wrestling and kind of fell in love with it. And it didn't hurt that Danny Havoc and Scotty Vortex are two of my favorite indie wrestlers. So, and Nick Gage.
I was gonna say something about you calling this beautiful, but since he basically stole the words out of my mouth, saying, "quote Trevor a psychopath too."
Yeah, probably.
Hey, we're all a little crazy. Speaking of psychopaths, John Moxley.
Oh yeah, there is, and that's early John. That's early Moxley.
Oh, that's Mox. So I knew we were gonna talk about this, and every time we talk about it, I always here's the thing. It's not always my cup of tea. Like because here's the thing. I like death matches in the past, right? Like FMW death matches and the ones with Funk and Foley and all them. They were great. They were great because along with the high stakes, along with the maiming, there was a story being told. There was a story legitimately being told. There was gripping drama, and you use the weapons and the blood and everything to enhance that. That's what wrestling is. For me, and again, this is just me, what I prefer, what I think. I think that a lot of times, from what I've seen, I've since watched some deathmatch wrestling. I have not watched a full Tournament of Death, which I think that's going to be like me reacting to a...
I don't think you can sit through a full tournament.
I'm gonna try to. I'm gonna try to one day. We're gonna rip a DVD one day and put it on Patreon and see what happens. But so okay. Anyway, what I was saying was I've always thought that what some companies who have these deathmatch tournaments do is they bring in people who bring up violence for the sake of violence and solely violence. And that's as a wrestling fan, I can't get behind that because there has to be a reason for it. Again, it goes back to not everything has to be. If this was like 1 or 2 matches on the card that were just violent for the sake of violence, all right, fair enough. But my problem with it is it ups the ante so much when everyone is doing it. Mm-hmm. And when it becomes one of those things where everyone has to outdo what everyone else is doing, and then it just gets to a point. What's the point of no return? That's my worry. That's my worry. And again, I'm not saying like these people go out there intentionally wanting to kill people. That's not what I'm saying.
No, yeah. And I get where you're coming from, though.
Yeah, for me, and the last thing I'll say before I let you kind of take the reins again is what I don't want to have happen is like what happened to Nick Gage. He went too far. We know the mentality of people in sports, the mentality of people in wrestling goes too far, almost dies, literally dies. Like I don't want to see people die in the ring because it's not worth it. Even the best death match in the world, is it worth having some bumps and bruises, some scarring, some bleeding, some even a broken rib or whatever? Yeah, it can be worth it, or it's something that happens, right? But when you're talking about literally life and death, it's and the risk is higher. Like those are things I don't like to see because we want the business to thrive. We want the people in the business to thrive. We want to see people entertain us and live long lives. That should be the goal, or live fulfilling lives, and. So for me, it's a bit of a catch-22. I don't know.
And I totally agree. Like the thing is, like I said before, Tournament of Death, it has the tournament matches, right? And the 9 times out of 10, they'll have matches in between that are like confrontation matches, just normal matches. Like even this particular one that you're showing right now, there was a match for the CCW World Title. And it was a couple tag team matches that were not death matches. They used no weapons at all. And there were some of the better matches, honestly. And like early on in Tournament of Death, you saw some drama play out. Now, when Nick Gage got cut, God
damn.
I'm just knocking shit over. When he almost died, like what you saw was it was a feud that came between him and Thumbtack Jack. And I know the name, right? Thumbtack Jack. And the match was supposed to culminate in one in the feud or whatever, tell a story. And unfortunately, the light tube broke too early and hit him in his armpit, and he did die for like 7-8 minutes. And it's a shame when you see stuff like that. You know what I mean? A death match can be fun to watch, and it can tell a great story. But you do have guys, and you see a lot of matches. Sadly, some matches in Game Changer Wrestling where that's just the case. And that's, to me, that's when it's too much. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think it's about like when you're doing death matches though, it's like that line, it's never defined. Like it is just so blurred. It's so much more blurred.
It's so shaded. It's so blurred. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, like again, it's like it's one of those things where like, who am I to say what is right and what is wrong? But one thing I will say is that if you're gonna do it, it needs to be for a purpose. Like you need to have a purpose. You need to get people over. You know, I sound like Cornette. I feel like when I say this is like
you do, but you're not shitting on it like Cornette did.
No. Again, it's not my cup of tea. But I see like I see the need, or not the need, but like the attraction it provides, because it's just huge spectacle. You know, it might not have storyline, but it's spectacle. Like look at New Jack. His whole thing, like New Jack was fully spectacle. He didn't like it was fully spectacle.
He had a storyline in his entire career.
No, his storyline is I'm going to murder you, and then he will come backstage and say I'm going to murder you, and but that was his thing. But he was also one guy. ECW as a whole, they did a good job of making things matter. Like when you would. You know, and look, they did a lot of stuff that was dangerous, but at the end of the day, it was based in storyline. It was based in the idea of getting people over and telling a story, which is what Paul Heyman did. You know, I can I say the same for DJ Hyde?
No, because first of all, DJ Hyde is probably one of the worst promoters possible. I mean, Zandig wasn't great either, but he was.
Oh my God! Did you hear that story? Did you hear that story that the Dark Side of the Ring guys told Renee Paquette on her podcast about Zandig?
No, I didn't.
So here's the thing. So the Dark Side of the Ring guys, when they were doing the Nick Gage documentary, when they were filming it, they went out to interview John Zandig. And they get to his house, and they're a little late because they had car trouble or something. And getting an interview with Zandig was really difficult because he's a very he's a very very cranky guy. He's a cranky guy. Please don't hurt me, by the way. But allegedly cranky guy. But so they get to his house and they just see this big ass like Trump flag. And immediately, John Zandig was the guy who was like the co-promoter of CZW, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, then it is John Zandig. So
he actually helped start CZW.
Yeah. So it is him because it wasn't DJ Hyde. It was Zandig. The name sounds familiar. Anyway, so they see this big ass Trump flag in this yard, and immediately like the Dark Side of the Ring, like it's the two interviewers, the two producers. They're just like, oh well. This is going to be interesting. And then they knock on the door. They get in the house. Zandig opens and it's like, you guys fucked up, buddy. You done fucked up. And then he just like started berating them for being late. And he's like, yeah, we're not doing this. And immediately they just turn around like, yeah, we're not safe here. We're just leaving.
Right.
So they just leave. I mean, documentary turned out great. But yeah, Zandig is quite an interesting character.
Yeah, everyone involved in that is actually quite an interesting guy.
I wonder, is the event catered? Is CCW Tournament of Death catered? Like do that food there? Man, DJ Hyde's parents, they might have, bro. I'd be like, yeah, son, I'm gonna set up like shop and sell some goddamn sandwiches. You're gonna mess up my backyard.
It would make sense. Like it would literally make sense. Shit, the entire like bottom half of their parents' house was set up for like dressing room and all that other shit. That's the entire bottom half of the house. It's a huge ass house, by the way, and the backyard is humongous.
Mama and Papa Hyde, if you can hear the sound of my voice, next Tournament of Death, set up like a little lemonade stand, a sandwich shop, something. It's your property. Corner the goddamn market. There we go. Just do it. You'll make bank. Like these are a bunch of
1,000 people on that property.
There's a bunch of sweaty, hungry men. Sell them some sandwiches. You make bank. You could charge $6 for a grilled cheese. $10 for a grilled cheese, however much you want, and they'd buy it. I promise you.
I mean, they would, because shit, I was hot, hungry. I mean, and I always wondered. They never really came out and talked about it, but I wonder how they felt that Nick pretty much died in their backyard.
Imagine DJ Hyde going back in the house after that. It's just like, hey mom, hey dad. And it's just like, oh hey son, how did your little tournament go? It's like, yeah, somebody died. Oh my god. Oh my god.
But I hope everyone learned something.
Yeah. I mean, look, I learned quite a lot, and you know what else I learned? That we get to have amazing conversations on this channel, and you guys can be privy to those conversations. You guys can listen to those every single week if you'll hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released, whenever we got a live stream. Got daily videos, clips of this show, clips of Real Take Sports Talk, Real Take Sports Talk itself, Real Take Wrestle Talk on Tuesdays. Starting on Sundays during the NFL season, I'm going to have Real Take Football Talk. The content just keeps coming. Also, if you're interested, patreon.com/Real Take Sports. You get to help us out, create this content, work on this show, do what we do. You also get access to our exclusive post-game, our overtime show, which is actually going to air, look at my clock, right after this in just a few minutes. So patreon.com/Real Take Sports if you want to continue this wonderful conversation that we've been having along with us. Join the $5 per month or above tier, and you can do that. You can also get access to some special early access to documentaries I have coming out. They're going to be posted on YouTube later on, but you get to see them exclusively first before anyone. So do that if you want to. Also, it helps us out. It just helps us out, and if you can't, understand. Subscription is just as good. Hit that subscribe button. Like this video, please. Anyway, Trevor, CZW Tournament of Death. In the books. In the pocket. Out of sight. All right. Let's see. Let's go through some of these chats, and then we'll go into overtime. Sound good?
Sound good to
So,
me.
you got any last-minute questions, guys? Put them in the chat. Oh, Liam just arrived very late. He seems upset.
Oh, one other thing. For everyone in the chat, if you have any ideas on who you want me to spotlight next week, please. My Twitter account is in my name there, right there somewhere. Trevor Tainment. Just hit me up. Let me know.
For God's sakes, don't make him spotlight Sunny Side Up. For God's sake.
God.
No, we're not spotlight. Executive Trevor, I said play your music your own way. That if it comes to that, I would. If you want us to review Sunny Side Up, you're gonna have to
It's on Patreon.
The big bucks on Patreon. The huge moolah on Patreon, baby.
Anything but that.
or the China one. No, none of that. Actually, we're not gonna do any of that. In all seriousness, no. But. Jesus. Anyway, let's go through some of these chats. Again, last minute questions. Any ideas for Trevor? Put them in the chat right now. Why not? Very quickly, we got about 3 minutes, and then we're going to go to our overtime thing on patreon.com/Real Take Sports. Again, patreon.com/Real Take Sports. Hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. I think I just said it. That was my fastest ever.
Ever. I'm proud of you.
Ever. I just broke a world record right there for fastest. Michael call. I don't even know what I'm saying.
Since the edit is a fucking idiot.
He's funny as shit. I love this.
Nick Gage ghost haunted the backyard for 7 to 8 minutes.
Okay. A winner is you, Cincy. A winner, Cincy. You keep this up, Cincy. You keep this up. You might actually work your way up to a moderator in the chat. Actually, this is
that's a great one. Cincy, That's a great one.
Okay,
Quinn McKay.
let me God damn it, let me do my job here. All right.
I'm sorry.
Ravens Flock says, "Great show, guys. Thank you, Ravens Flock. Appreciate you." Liam 27 is very late. Yes, you are. Nick Gage's ghost. Yes, he did. Liam says, "Geez, what have I come into?" Since he responds by saying, Trevor explaining a psychopath tournament and how he is also a psycho. CC says, "You just came into a lot." Affirmed what Cincy said. Liam says, "Sunny side up. I thought this is a wrestling talk, not egg talk." Yes. Okay. We're not gonna go into that anymore. Quinn McKay.
Why are we talking to him?
Quinn because I got my head in the gutter 24/7. Quinn McKay. Quinn McKay. That could be an interesting one.
That could
be an interesting one. Definitely someone who fits the bill of who someone who's like underutilized and whatnot. So. Yes, Quinn McKay. That could be interesting. Any else? I have jokes and ideas.
You do.
Since you get one joke and then we're out. You get one more joke. Anyway, Trevor, tell the people where they can find you and all that kind of stuff.
Find me on Twitter at Trevor Entertainment. Just send me all your ideas there if you like, and I'll respond.
Yep. Send us your ideas. We're also going to be doing Real Take Sports Talk, like I said, on Thursday, and Real Take Wrestle Talk every single Tuesday night right here on the channel. Subscribe, hit that like button, all that jazz. Might do a Rampage live stream, maybe. Thinking about that. Trevor and I will decide. If you want to see our decision, we'll talk about it there on patreon.com/Real Take Sports. You get access to some exclusive conversation, some exclusive production conversation. We'll decide on there if we want to or not. Probably will. We'll do something for at least the first one. The CM Punk one, maybe too. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, let's see. Last few comments here as we roll out here. Cincy says, "I have great jokes." Yes, you do. Liam says, "Yes, Cincy, you have great jokes and ideas." Great. They're just kissing each other's asses. Cincy says, I don't have any more in my head yet. They just came in the moment. CC, good night, guys, and good night to you. Good night to all the real takers out there. Good night to the world, and we will see you live every week. Same right here, right now. Patreon.com/Real Take Sports. You want to continue the conversation. Later, guys.